Hello everybody and welcome back to the Player Series, as now we welcome the first round clash in between Neil Robertson and John Higgins. Let's hear it out for the players. We've got the four-time world champion versus the man that became the king of the Crucible in 2010. And now it's certainly not a bad matchup for the first round clash. Let's see which one of these titans is going to be able to get themselves through to the quarter-final stage. Of course, first thing you have to start with, both of the players have done quite well last season, losing out to Watchalong and Karen Wilson respectively in the semi-finals there for both of them. Can't be called a bad record, as now we've got two tables very much sat alongside each other. And it is going to be Mark Allen against Weezer on table number 2, but the main action on the table number 1 is going to feature the Australian Neil Robertson and the man from Scotland, John Higgins. So previous head-to-head, especially on a couple of seasons, has to be slightly in Robertson's favour, because losing out for John Higgins there at the Champion of Champions and at the Masters last season with very close scores of 6-4 and 6-5 respectively. So now the handshake is in there in between the players, and it is going to be John Higgins to get us underway in the first frame here. So let's see how well is he going to be able to start here so far. As I say, he's been super solid when it comes to trying to beat the top 16 players in the first couple of rounds. Not so much when it comes to the business part of the tournaments though. As you can see, nice little shot from the cue ball. Try and get it in behind the yellow. I feel like he's managed to just about close enough there. The angle for Robertson to be seeing that cue ball and try and guide it to that red into the right corner. Clearly doing a really good job with that, and Robertson now has to try and find a little gap to send that cue ball down the table, and then we'll see if he's going to be able to get himself lined up on the next shot and try and position the cue ball down the table, or instead just try and maybe find the thin edge of the cut on the cue ball and still try and send it towards the ball cushion area. But now it is going to be just that cue ball to be landed on the black ball cushion. And back to the table steps Higgins. So I feel like it is going to be a very important start of this match here for both of the players. Simply because of, it's quite difficult to be playing catch-up against John Higgins. But, you also don't really want to be letting Neil Robertson to give himself a chance to try and run away with it. For now, just a bit of a safety battle. And a chance for the players to get a better hold of the cues and the equipment they're going to have ahead of themselves for the rest of these tournaments. And once again, a little thin cut on the red from Robertson. It feels like he got that one slightly too thick, and the cue ball is going to be heading to the top part of the table, just about going to stop in time. And he's going to have a long shot available. There, Higgins into the left corner. And there, Letitia. And yeah, it's going to be all about trying to utilise those early chances. You've got the two really high-seeded players there. Of course, Robertson massively benefiting from that £500,000 worth of ranking points that he managed to pocket in the first ranking event tournament of the season. Quite controversial. The place that, you're going to get so many of those ranking points that he's going to set you up for the rest of those 2 years until you're going to lose them. John Higgins had to grind his points out, and he's just played a really good shot there. That cue ball just lacking a bit of pace to get firmly behind the brown, but still going to very much compromise the sighting there of Robertson in terms of you can only see the right part of the table there with these reds. Therefore, a straightforward shot is not really going to be on the cards there for him. Feel like he can try and maybe nudge that cue ball into the reds just underneath the pink. But once again, that will leave the cue ball very much heading towards the green pocket, which still leaves that red available to John Higgins. And that's not going to be part of the plan there for Neil Robertson. And yeah, of course, it's very difficult to predict, especially a bit of a break since the World Grand Prix. Neither Higgins or Robertson performed super well in either one of those two tournaments. So they're going to be coming into this one slightly rusty there from both perspectives. And Robertson there straight away gives 4 points away to John Higgins. So he's going to be put back there. Of course, the 3 miss rule is not going to be applied to this one. So just Robertson asking the referee to check that the cue ball placement is going to be spot on. Of course, trying to do it off the left side cushion. Get a minimal contact on the red. Make sure he doesn't force it too close to the right corner pocket. And then he should be fine to not leave anything easy away to John Higgins. Of course, still wants that cue ball to be drifting towards the black ball cushion, which is why he's trying to catch it thin on the edge. Didn't work out either here. So once again, 4 points go the way of Higgins here. He was a lot closer though from Robertson. So you feel like if it is going to be third attempt, he's going to be able to make this one stick. Just has to ensure that he doesn't hit this one too thick on the edge, because inevitably that will give unnecessary pace away to the cue ball and leave it very much vulnerable to leaving that red available to the right middle. So once again, I expected him to get this one on the 3 attempts though, I have to say, because as much as it's not the most straightforward shot that you have to play, it doesn't seem like it's going to be the one that you're going to lose 12 points on. But of course, more importantly, he doesn't want to leave that cue ball anywhere near the black ball spot, and that cue ball's going to be heading towards the pocket now. He caught the red, and he has caught it, well, he has caught it slightly too thick on the edge, forced that red to go closer to the right corner pocket, so it is going to be possible, but because of the cue ball placement being super close to the left corner, I feel like Higgins may have a struggle to try and hold it for the next couple of colours. So once again, the red that I mentioned available to him into the right middle is still there. It's just that, once again, cue ball so close to the cushion, quite awkward queuing there, and having to make sure that the white will slow down before it reaches the bulk. Yeah, missed that one by an absolute mile there, Higgins. And let's see if he's going to have the same red to be given away, but he's certainly given the one next to the blue away into the right corner to be taken. So Robertson will certainly try and make the most out of that. As he has a look, I feel like that red that Higgins has missed, yeah, he missed that one by an absolute mile. I don't actually feel like he got the jaw there. I felt like that was heading straight for this side cushion instead. So instead, that red is not going to be playable. Well, look at that for a shot. Brilliant opener from Neil Robertson. That's certainly the way to get your score sheet underway. Brilliant there, especially how close the cue ball was to the side cushion for him to try and get the proper backspin on it as well. And it's slightly unfortunate to have finished dead on the side cushion as well on the blue. But it's a really nice spot there from Robertson. It's the one that gives him an opportunity, if he just holds the cue ball together, which he's managed to do so here, completely for the red, to be taken into the right corner. Just having a look to see if the black is going to be possible into the left corner. I feel like it won't be for now, because of one of those loose reds, that it was actually Robertson that pushed over the black trajectory to be heading to the left corner. He's going to try and remove that as soon as he possibly can, and then just focus on trying to get the break building started with the pink in the blue. There is going to be 7 points scored. So once again, plays it for the pink, but of course I have to say it is going to be a bit of a thing there for him, because ideally he wants to try and stay on the black, and that's what he's doing there, which I have to say I'm slightly surprised in the way that he was giving himself so much of an angle, only to try and play for the black. In the end, just forces the cue ball to bounce away from the black ball cushion. And now a bit of top spin once again on that red. Use the cushion next to the black one more time, and then that's going to have all the obstacles sorted there ahead of the black, and Robertson should be cruising nicely to break off, well, what should be expected. It's sort of 30-40 points scored minimum. He has got a couple of reds to try and make his way through, although he hasn't played too good of a shot here. That pace on the cue ball and the bounce of the side cushion wasn't really judged too well there from Robertson's point of view. He's got the cue ball very much close to those reds, and also the angle doesn't really favour Robertson in terms of him trying to hold the cue ball on for the black. So, good evening from down under. Yes, absolutely, good evening. And yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, of course, because we are going to have the World Grand Prix there in China. Then we're going to have the Players' Championship in England. Then we're going to the Welsh Open, then World Open. So it's going to be travelling all over the globe there. So all sorts of different times as well. But as I say, Robertson would be a favourite for me, simply on the way that, despite Higgins having a decent record against the top 16 players, not so much when it comes to the business part of those tournaments, and especially, when you have got those losses in 2025 away to Robertson, one just recently at the Champion of Champions. As I say, Robertson managed to get himself into the semi-final stage at that point, but that is not going to do him a lot of justice there, because that's a bad miss. And let's see if it is going to be a red given away there. He was playing for the red. He was trying to get those to spread out. And in the end, it feels like He has managed to get away with this one. Unforced error from the blue off the spot. And, I mean, when I say got away with it, Higgins has got a couple of reds to be taken into the left corner. And by the way, Robertson missed that one by a mile there when it comes to just taking that blue very much along its own line there into the left middle. He didn't even wobble in the jaws, he just bounced away from them. Now Higgins, can he try and get that red into the left corner? He certainly can, as he managed to slow the cue ball enough there for him to have a chance to have a go at the black. I'm not sure. He doesn't seem to be so sure either. So now just looking to try and maybe force that cue ball to go past the black. As he manages to do so, he needed to apply the backspin. He has done so. Of course, the problem for Higgins is going to be the factor of, Robertson has done all the hard work there with that shot of the split of the blue. In the end, he didn't manage to get the blue in. He probably would have been on the red had he managed to get that blue in, because the contact on the cue ball, if you look at the angle perspective, he would have been even firmer, which, sometimes will leave the cue ball very much at the top of the bunch of the reds. And if, the result would have been the same in terms of the way they managed to spread out away from each other, then certainly would have been a really nice chance for Robertson to try and close out the frame. But of course, when it comes to being 50 or 60 points down, there's probably no one better on the tour when it comes to just trying to get the gap down very much in your favour than John Higgins himself. Very much the comeback king, especially when it comes to the pure frame base. He probably doesn't come across as a player that will come back from being 7-1 down, although you can never write him off even right now. But when it comes to the frames, he's got the wonderful ability and composure to be very much calm under pressure. Get those reds that are going to be easy ones to be in the pockets, and then try and work his way through difficult reds as well. As he's now on the break of 17 points, trying to use those reds with the black for the time being. And now the focus of the camera, you can see there's a little cluster of 5 more reds above the black ball spot. And Higgins is going to try and make his way through those ones. Of course, he's got one more loose red that he can play for, but when it comes to those 5, I feel like it is going to be very difficult to try and get onto any one of them. So I feel like it is going to be either now or in a couple of shots time, we will see Higgins trying to send the cue ball into the reds, which is exactly what he's done now. And it looks like he's managed to get a good outcome. I wouldn't say it's the perfect one. If he's on a red into the right middle, then I would say it's a perfect one, because that eliminates one of the more difficult reds out of the way. And it just frees up even more zone to be sending that cue ball towards. But you can see instead he's going to be playing for the shot into the right corner for now. Will you be able to keep us updated on the progress of the Allen versus... So, unfortunately, probably not, because I've got it on the screen, but I will still tell you, if I see it on the camera, and also, when the frame is finished, I'll be able to tell you that Weezer has managed to take that frame away, or Allen has made a break of 80 points and stuff like that, but not to the extent anything bigger than that. For now, Higgins takes a really nice shot. For now, it's actually Weezer at the table. As Higgins is able to get that spider through those reds, get the red into the right corner. Now, once again, plays it for the black. And I feel like that's going to be the template for the next couple of shots. Just trying to get in behind those reds to be playing them into the right corner. He's now going to be on 44 points, so 21 points of an advantage. 83 still at the table, but it does very much feel like, as long as he's able to keep himself on the break here, there's nothing spectacular that he needs to try and do, especially with, him doing quite a firm job, quite a decent one on trying to get onto this red. It probably was one of the more awkward ones for him to try and get positional play from. So right now, as he makes the break of 33 points, doesn't seem too happy with the way that he managed to get himself on the black. Because he's looks like he's going to be straight there. So he's got 6 more reds to try and make his way through. 1 at the top part of the table, 1 on the right side cushion next to the blue. And then 4 more, which still are affirming a bit of a straight line. Higgins is able to make that cue ball go past the side cushion and the red on the left part of the table. You can see a little ref cam there as well, showing the point of view from the referee's game. It's going to be the first 40 plus points to be made by Higgins. And yeah, he's played a really good shot though, to be fair, because it gives him the ability to try and hold this cue ball for the pink. And then if he gives himself the right angle, he can either try and get that pink to be respotted on the blue spot if, he can't go into its usual spot right now. Or he can try and just use the cue ball to be taking the pink spot, and that way he's going to have a chance to take the red into the left corner right here, right now as well. So a bit of backspin needing to be applied on the cue ball. And he's trying to roll this one in, and as I say, clearly just positioning himself to be taking that red into the left corner. So we'll have a look if the pink is going to be respotted, which I actually feel like he will go onto the blue spot. See how the referee will see this one. But of course, Robertson will be disappointed there. Pink just about manages to squeeze his way through onto its own spot there. And Higgins still needs a couple of more shots, which, he's done a decent job there, trying to force the contact of the cue ball past the other red. Sort of landing a bit in between there of the pink and the black. But he's going to be taking the pink into the middle. Once again, needing to make sure he avoids the front jaw there, which he just about has. Felt like he gave a little brush to it. Yeah, clearly was enough for him to be still on the break here. And once again, controlling that cue ball wonderfully to be just about seeing enough of the red to be taken into the right corner. So once again, just look there for the scoreboard from Higgins' point of view. He only needs there 2 more reds. Well, 1 more after this one as he rolls it into the right corner, because he's about to go 51 points clear with 51 at the table. And then he's going to be able to try and, get himself on a frame ball after this black. And of course, to get the frame on the ball as well. It's going to be that very nice start and a very important start for Higgins, because before the match has started, Robertson was very much a serious favourite there. But as I always said, never underestimate John Higgins, especially before the match has started, because he's managed to find a break of 63 points, which is going to do him a real fine job there. And he's going to take him the first frame on the board. I was surprised to see Slessor as one of the 16 in this event. Yeah, so was I, to be fair, but it all makes sense, because I actually feel like it's not even going to be a wild card, because, Slessor had a really good campaign right at the start of it. You mentioned that Robertson made some good ranking points out of that win in Saudi Arabia, but so did Slessor. I mean, so did Wakeland, because both of them managed to get themselves into the semi-final. That's 100,000 straight away there. So, it's going to be far from bad for you to be having that on your record ahead of the player series, as now Higgins just tries to put the red onto the side cushion. And Robertson will be trying to play back here, which I have to say is really surprising to me. What's the advantage there? 59 points, 43. Like, really weird, to be fair. And I feel like he's just trying to, either entertain the fans. So, a bit of a weird one from Robertson, I have to say, because the commentators were saying that he was just confirming that the cue was running straight there. So it is going to be 4 points given away to to Higgins, I should say. But basically what it was is that Robertson came to the table, despite being 59 points down, and just rolled that cue ball towards the left corner pocket. Clearly just trying to make sure that the cue ball is going to be heading into a straight line without any sort of fade there. But he ain't going to do any problem there to John Higgins. That takes the opening frame, and he's now going to lead Neil Robertson by 1 frame to 0. And so is probably Weezer there. He's 61 points clear, 51 points at the table. So Mark Cullen certainly is not going to be coming back to the table on that visit either. And it is now Higgins and Weezer that are going to be taking their opening respective frames. Because just to come back on Slessor in a bit of time, Robertson and Higgins will play either Chris Wakeland or Salgadon. So dangerous, but probably not the worst draw that he could have got in the quarterfinal stage, because remember, the world number 1 probably has one of the more difficult draws in the entire set here, because he's got Joey Long in the first round, which is going to be far from ideal, and then he's going to have either Barry Hawkins or Mark Williams in the quarterfinal stage, should he get there. And of course, we'll play the best of the top part of the seeds of Wakeland, Sal, Higgins, or Robertson themselves. Because Wilson is going to be the one that gets the more favourable of the draws usually, because of the way that, seeded players work in the way of, former winners last year. Of course, that's not going to be the case with Karen Wilson, because the only 2 tournaments that he's won, and he's actually managed to do it pretty well at, were the Invitational, were the Masters of the Triple Crown, and then also the Shanghai Masters right at the start of the season as well. But just coming back real quick to Elias Lesser points, you have to remember that it is going to be not based off what your ranking position is overall, because WSD runs two different systems for that. You've got a one-year list, and you've got the actual world rankings. And if you talk about the one-year list, you're going to have the likes of Chris Wakelin very much in the top 9, I should say, right behind Ronnie O'Sullivan. Then you're going to have the likes of sort of Mark Allen, Elias Lesser, Joey Long, Barry Hawkins, and it was actually John Higgins that was the world number 17. So technically he's going to be that wild card because, apart from that really good campaign at the International Championship, he didn't really have a staggering campaign at either one of the ranking event tournaments so far this season. So he's going to have to try and use that wildcard appearance, because we have seen it with Ali Carter at the Shanghai Masters, where he wasn't supposed to be playing in the tournament, and then a couple of weeks later, he was the one trying to challenge Kyron Wilson all the way to decide they're in the final. But yeah, if you talk about a one-year list, of course, Robertson leads it by a mile after that Saudi Masters win, pretty much being sort of 4/5 there of the ranking points that he managed to score in the entire year list. Then he's got Selby, Murphy, Williams, Trump, Zhao Wu Yizet, Ronnie O'Sullivan. As the top 8, still going to have the likes of Wakelin, Sauer, Slesser, Allen, Joe, Hawkins, Ander, and Lisowski there, rounding out the top 16, with John Higgins being the world number 17 when it comes to one-year list. So as I say, that list is going to be quite different from the normal 2-year list there, because it very much has started when the season got underway in Saudi Arabia. There's Robertson there, just trying to find a gap, maybe squeeze one of those reds to be taken into the right corner. In the end, that's not really going to work out for him. And the turn is going to be given back to John Higgins here. So let's see if he's going to have the opportunity himself to try and force those reds to be spreading out across the table. Just I feel like the previous shot from Robertson has actually had an impact on the black being potable into the right corner. I feel like Higgins had a look at that previously. But of course, it's going to be relevant when you have got a chance to go for a long pot. That's not going to be the case here for him. So a bit of a backspin shot there with the cue ball. It's going to be heading right across the table and towards the yellow pocket. And it is going to be way too close to the yellow pocket this time. So it is going to be an unforced error there from John Higgins. Let's see if he's going to be punished though by Neil Robertson, because he's going to have a ball in hand there with a cue ball. And also the ability to try and, take that red into the right corner for now. Once again, he's going to be having a look at it there. So, yeah, he seems like he's going to be very unhappy with the way that he has to bridge over the blue and the yellow in terms of his hand placement. And the way that he was going to have to cue that shot to get that cue ball very much with a firm strike on the red. In the end, changing the approach completely and just going for a safety there of his own, placing that cue ball very close to the green spot, and in the end, even closer to the brown spot, and very fortunate there. I mean, look at that, for a fortunate kiss on the brown, and he's going to have John Higgins right into trouble there, in behind the yellow. So, the good news for Higgins, though, is that he still has got the vast majority of those reds to be super close to each other. There's no danger from the right-hand side, so just a big bounce off the side cushion with a bit of a spin to it as well. Gives him the ability to give a little nudge to those reds, spread them out in a controlled fashion for his own. And as long as he doesn't leave a free ball, he should leave Robertson with certainly a necessity to try and hit those reds, which he has managed to do. Hasn't taken Robertson too much time, though, to come to the right conclusion. And it is back to the safety play, which we have seen a bit of. Are there any other events in which players are drawn from the 1 year? I feel like it's not really, because the Tour Championship is going to be based off the actual world number 16. So I feel like probably just this one. But I would say keep an eye on the Tour Championship as well, because they changed the format, didn't they? Because it used to be the Players Series Championship of this tournament, and then it changed its name in 2021, I think it was. So I would have to say Tour Championship as well, because you can't get through to it unless you're in the top 16. And you also have got a bit of a different story when it comes to, I feel like it is going to be 8 players to be in the quarterfinal stage or whatever, and then you're going to have 8 more of them to battle to be appearing in the quarterfinals. So I know it's not 1 year list, but it's still going to be very much based on the same scheme there. And well, Robertson is going to be fuming with that because he's just had a sitter missed over the pocket. And yeah, I mean, like, you can see the commentators as well suggesting that he's not happy with this one. He's absolutely fuming, to say the least, because he had the red over the pocket. In the end, he wasn't able to pot it, and now it's a sitting duck for Higgins. So, I mean, I have to say, the way that he's played it, though, he was always trying to hold it for the black, which is quite a different and quite a difficult technique for you to pull off, especially when you're coming into this frame quite raw and rusty. After quite a bad miss on the blue in the previous frame. Of course, you can't blame that one on the fade. You know, it was a horrible miss with all the power in the world. But for Higgins, he ain't going to care about that one too much. In fact, he probably has moved on from that factor already, because he's going to have a 4 points advantage. He's on a break of 8 points. And he's had Robertson very much sat in his chair throughout the majority of the first frame. Let's see if he's going to have history to repeat itself. As, by the way, talk about sitting in the chair. Feels like Weezer's doing the same thing to Mark Allen, because he's got no intention, clearly, of coming back to the table anytime soon. With me expecting that to be on frame number 2. Feels like both Weezer and John Higgins have got themselves to a flying start there. John just trying to get that cue ball to be carrying those reds away from the black ball cushion. Hasn't really played the shot too well, though. And he's going to compromise himself. Because it's a bit of a weird one there with John. Because it's sort of in between of him trying to avoid any cannon on the reds. Because of the lack of power that he played. But also the way that he managed to catch that red with, you know, significant contact. You have to say he probably got himself in a bit of a no man's land there. And now he's got 12 points of an advantage, and all of a sudden, the break that looked like it was going to get easier from that point of starting, looks like it's only got more difficult there for him. Certainly on this occasion, this red is far from an easy one, and it feels like he's done it. Now, is he going to be on the black? He just about is going to be on the black, so it's a good shot there from Higgins. You know, manages to cannon one more red away towards the left middle, which is going to be a good bonus for him here. So 13 points advantage, and still a couple of reds very much available there to his name. He needs to try and do something with those reds here, though. And that's what he's looking at, to be fair, because he's going to have a very difficult shot of trying to get on the same red there because of, you know, he's lined up for the black into the right corner. He needs to go around that red, because he ain't going to be able to just send that cue ball in a straight line to the top part of the table. And also, I mean, make sure you put the black first, because this is far from an ideal situation there, and he's going to miss the black. So the cue ball kind of had the line there. He still would have been quite badly positioned for that red, but at least he would have had the chance to continue the break. This one won't be the case, and Robertson will step back to the table here. So break ends on just 17 points score there from Higgins' point of view, and well, as I said there, Robertson is not going to have too much of an easy start, because as much as this red is potable, he's got the black over the right corner as well. But when it comes to just trying to find the next couple of reds, it's going to be quite a challenge there for him. So bounce the cue ball off the bulk, doesn't want the contact on those reds, and well, I mean, it feels like he needs to see the black to be taken into the right corner, and well, that was quite careless there from Robertson, I have to say, because that cue ball should have been anywhere near the contact point of any one of those reds onto the main bunch. And right now, you're probably still going to pot this black off the cushion, but it makes it a lot more difficult than it could have been for him. So just having one more look to see if that's going to be the approach that he's taken here. So just trying to give the cue ball a little nudge towards the black. Of course, have to try and take all the power away, but still find more of an angle you have to focus on to get that cue ball to bounce away off the side cushion, which Robertson probably has done a pretty decent job of, to be fair. So he's going to be lined up for the red to be taken now into the left corner. A bit of topspin on the cue ball to be applied. Once again, just forcing it through the cushion Get himself lined up for this black to be taken into the right corner. And yeah, a bit of backspin on the cue ball right now will certainly help, because it feels like the angle's certainly there to try and make contact to those reds. But, well, Robertson feels like, and certainly seems like, that he's not up to the pace just yet. It was a straightforward shot on the black. Yes, the cue ball was slightly lower than the black itself, but still, it was an ordinary shot there that you would expect someone like Robertson to get 9 times out of 10, and yet it wasn't to be this time. And Higgins is going to have a straightforward roll of the cue ball to try and get himself lined up back for the break here. Well, for the top-seeded player here, Robertson certainly doesn't feel like he's going to be living up to the expectations, and certainly needs to recover before the end of the first mini session, because the way that this has been going could easily be a 4-0 gap by the time those 4 frames have ended there in favour of John Higgins. Expecting Weezer to make amends in his tournament after he failed during his countrymen in the semis of the previous one. Yeah, but to be fair, it was a really good performance from Zhang, and in the end, you can't really say you had a bad campaign when you lose to the runner-up, because, you know, Zhang had a really good performance against both Weezer and Joey Long in the semis, and then he feels like he just didn't really have the match for the incredible form of Zhao Xington in the second session there, especially because in the first one it was very much all square. In the second one, especially with all the centuries that Xington was able to find, Zhang just didn't have the clinical part of his game very much with him at that stage. Let's see if Higgins is going to have this part of the game with him, because it seems like it's always with him, and just a bit of an odd miss here or there might be just a bit out of the ordinary. Taking the more difficult reds once again, one by one, into the left middle right now. Once again, trying to get himself on the black, playing that cue ball away, and onto the black ball cushion. So getting himself lined up for this red to be taken into the right corner. So 20 points now is going to be the advantage for John Higgins. And the reason why I want to mention this right now is because, I mean, that certainly didn't go to plan. I mean, the red is in. Higgins doesn't look like he has actually, you know, seen himself being scared there. But that red wobbled in the jaws quite badly there, especially for how close it was to the black ball cushion. In the end, it's in. That's the only thing that matters. But, yeah, you've got 3 reds quite close to each other, forming a little triangle of their own, close to the side cushion there on the left-hand side of the table. And apart from those 3, the remaining 4 should be a straightforward way for John Higgins to be taking this frame away from Robertson, because, you know, if you get those 4 reds in, he's certainly going to have a real nice chance to try and get your advantage to be way higher than 51 points of the requirements, and pretty much leave Robertson with, you know, you don't take your chance away in the first frame, and in the second one, all of a sudden, you're not going to get a second invitation there. Higgins once again just checking the way that he needs to be lined up on what remains to be 3 reds now. Underneath the pick, and you can see 94% of the pot success in the opening frame and a half for Higgins, and only 77 from Robertson's point of view. But of course, all of that is going to be, well, impacted massively by the fact of Robertson only scoring 36 points so far and having 2 breaks of 23 and 13 points up to this stage. Which, of course, is not even 13 points, because it was a foul shot of 4 points given away, with that cue ball heading towards the yellow pocket right at the start of the frame from Higgins. Got himself into a bit of a difficult position, though, because he needs this red to go into the left corner. The cue ball is slightly further away from the red than he would have wanted, and still needs to try and find that combination shot to be set up on the black. So a bit of backspin there, once again, to try and hold the cue ball for the remaining 2 reds. Despite there only being 2 of them, still needs to make sure he's going to be playing the one into the right corner first, because that will give him the opportunity to try and play for the pink, but also try and give him the cue ball placement to be super close towards that red to be taken into the, well, one of the 4 main pockets. For now, the red disappears, so the advantage is going to be extended to 45 points there from Higgins. But what a shot that he's played there. Horrible piece of cueing there from Higgins, and he's going to be very disappointed. That is to be the end of a break. I mean, he's nowhere near to be on the pink, and it's really difficult to tell. He was trying to play for the left or the right corner. In the end, is very eager to try and go for the green, but that is going to be a disaster if he doesn't win this frame from here. And, well, he's certainly not going to do it from this visit to the table. That is going to be problem started there for Higgins. Although, I mean, the fact that he's missed the green by so much of a margin probably had a very much direct impact on the fact that he's nowhere near to be seen on the red as well. So, certainly far from an ideal start from either one of the players' perspectives, but ultimately, you know, it's Higgins that finds himself a frame up, and now 45 points advantage to his name as well. So now just trying to make sure, Robertson, that he is going to be staying at this frame for a couple of more shots there, trying to get those reds to be separated away from each other, and also to cannon them away from the left side cushion. So now Higgins steps back to the table here, and yeah, as I say, it was quite a weird one, but I can't really say that the cushion absorbed all the power of the cube and all the spin. It just feels like Higgins sort of caught himself in a bit of a two-mind there, whether he was going to try and get that cue to be on the left or the right part of the ping. Either would have been fine, but just not right in the middle, where certainly was the end point there for the cue to finish. Now it's John that he's going to try and roll the cue across the table towards the right side cushion. And, well, he was happy to concede that cue at the lower part of the table because despite, you know, the black is going to cover the red, which probably is going to be the most dangerous of all of them. And the three more are going to be quite close to the right side cushion, which obviously is going to compromise Robertson's chances of trying to pot any one of those three. So now, once again, 45 points is the advantage for Higgins, and 59 still at the table there for Robertson to try and make a comeback. And, I mean, he's going to be fine in points. What he's not really going to be fine with is going to be the factor of the cube heading towards the yellow pocket first. But it looks like it is going to stay out just about there for him. But also the fact that the brown and the blue are going to be super far away from their usual spots. And that transition from the blue on towards the pink is going to be nasty because of it being super close to the black ball cushion. Sorry, the ball cushion, I should say. But the red is quite close to the black ball cushion there. He's surely going to be an attempt of a pot there from Higgins. Because despite Robertson managed to keep the cue ball away from the yellow pocket, he didn't really manage to get the red into a safe place. And now Higgins gets that red in, although it probably is just going to be a point that he scores. But at this stage, take nothing away from it. If he scores one more red like that, all of a sudden, Robertson needs snookers, which is going to be an absolute horror show for him to try and achieve in a position like that. That's 46 points of an advantage, so he's 5 points safe there, Robertson, but ultimately, you know, it doesn't really give him the flexibility of trying to take those reds with whichever colours he wants now. He needs to make sure he doesn't lose more than 4 points on those three reds, and also, you know, that's going to give him a chance of a total clearance, which is to say, the green, brown, and blue. You still feel like I'm going to say a word or two about it. And it's a good shot, though, from Higgins. He didn't look like he was too happy with the way that the cue was slowed down before being very close to the green. So that, in the end, just allowing Robertson to try and play a swerve shot, which just about managed to do enough there to get thick contact to ensure that the red bounced away closer to the side cushion and not ended up over the right corner pocket instead. So Higgins is just looking himself there to try and maybe take the red into the yellow pocket here. Maybe accelerate the cue ball away to the top part of the table as well. That's going to give him a chance to keep those three reds very much closed by the side cushion. He decides in the end, well, a bit of a surprising shot there from Higgins because he decided to try and take that red away from the side cushion, although I mean, you can't really say that he's managed to make it difficult there for Robertson because A, he's probably not going to touch the same red because that one is already in a playable condition. And yeah, he's just going to try and play a cross double of another red, which to be fair, hasn't really managed to succeed at the task of trying to get those reds to be in open play. And also, feels like he's managed to leave a red out away there to Higgins into the right corner to be taken. So let's see if Johnny's going to try and go for it. And can he actually see enough of this red? It looks like he can, because he ain't going to be playing a safety shot from here, let me tell you that for free. So it is going to be an all or nothing shot at this stage because the red is going to be available for Robertson to the middle if Higgins misses this one. Oh, he nearly floated into the yellow pocket, but he has missed this one. And all of a sudden, Robertson certainly is going to be in the hunt for this frame. And, well, you can see that red not quite going into the pocket, bouncing away there at the end with all the power that Higgins has put into that shot. And, well, certainly needs to get his maths right there, Robertson, because he's got 3 reds. He needs to score 47 points with those. That means he's going to lose 4 points, as I say. So that is equivalent of playing all of these 3 reds with a pink, because it's going to be very difficult for you to try and play either one of those with the blue. The one that he probably would have had the best chance is going to be by the yellow pocket. So that's probably why. I mean, this could be a genius move, but it's quite a risky one from Robertson because he's leaving that red next to the yellow pocket away very much till the last, you would feel. Trying to get himself on the black right now. Didn't really work out. But he's not perfectly lined up on the pink either. Maybe just trying to get that last red with the blue, which is going to get that cue ball to be on the top part of the table anyway, which is not going to be the case now. Because the plan needs to be taken adjustments to because of Robertson not being able to have the position on the black. Now he's forced to try and take that red to the top part of the table. So eliminating the blue away from the ball cushion is not going to be part of his plan now. He needs that cue ball to drift all the way for the black. It looks like he's not going to have the legs to do so. He may be able to take the pink though. So let's, once again, if he takes the last red with the black or the pink, it should be fine in terms of points. But he still needs to get this pink in. And also he needs to make sure that he's going to be lined up for the red to be taken. And he's missed the pink. Where's he going to finish though? Is he going to be in the right middle instead? No, he won't. And yeah, of course, when you miss a colour like that, that means that John Higgins doesn't need to do anything. And Robertson already needs snookers. So for 2 colours that he missed there, Robertson seems to have been super costly for him. That miss on the blue in the first frame cost him the frame win. And in the end, it looks like this one has cost him any chance of taking this frame away from Higgins. And all that sort of argument, whether he was going to be able to make a total clearance from this, is going to be down to absolutely nothing. Because of the brown and the blue having that position compromised. And John Higgins steps to the table, scores 8 points. That's going to be the only points that he needs there for him to be lined up with a frame win, as he gets the yellow in as well. See if he's going to have the position on the green. He's tried to do it, so maybe he's going to give a bit of a masterclass in how he should be done in terms of getting those 6 colours to be cleared. Because pretty much all of them, apart from black, would have been massively out of position. And this shot on the green is going to be far from an ideal one. Also, it's not going to be easy to try and get that cue ball to be set up for the left part of the brown. In the end, that won't be the case. And it's not going to matter anyway, because Robertson is not going to try and make anything out of this frame. It is now John Higgins that seems to have taken all the control in this match now. He leads Neil Robertson by 2 frames to 0. And the Australian still feels like he's very much yet to get himself on the way. And I did say that it could well be resulting in a 4-0 advantage for John Higgins. Of course, he was before that bit of a blunder that he had on the pink. And a few blunders after, it was Neil Robertson, funnily enough, making the same mistake on the same colour there. Trying to cut that pink into the left middle. In the end, didn't manage to. And John Higgins scoring 10 points or so. That clearly was enough for him to be taking that frame comfortably there from Neil Robertson. And he's now going to be a firm favourite to be progressing to the quarter-final stage. Meanwhile, Weeze and Mark Cullen are all square. And the break of 51 points in the second frame is surely going to be enough for Mark Cullen to be taken the second frame away there from the player from China. And he's now all square in one of those matches. Not so much in the second one though, because it is Higgins that still has all the control in relation to Neil Robertson. Let's see if Neil is going to be able to come back in the third frame. He needs to, otherwise he's going to be in trouble. 3-0 down to John Higgins. Very few people are able to come back from that sort of deficit, especially when it comes to the first round matches, which You could argue that it's going to be down to sometimes the fatigue creeping in on you at the business part of those tournaments. Certainly not going to be a lot of that. I don't feel like he's played in the World Open qualifiers, so you would have had and I don't feel like he was playing in the Championship League Invitational event either. Certainly would not have been in the qualifying tour. So it feels like he's going to have about a week or so of a rest ever since that campaign at the World Grand Prix, where it finished quite early for him, losing out to the eventual winner, Zhao in I feel like it was the first round, to be fair. Probably one of the worst performances there that we've seen from Higgins so far this tournament. And, once again, so the third frame is going to get underway in the match of Weeze and Mark Cullen. So we're very much level in terms of the way those frames are going to develop. Because now both players are going to be coming back onto the arena for table number 1. You can see John Higgins has done so now. And once again, the ref cam just showing the way that you're supposed to rack the raids there. So just the safety battle on table number 2 going on. We'll still wait for Robertson to get himself back to the table and back to the action there for himself. And yeah, when it comes to the underdogs though, let's have a look the way that this draw is shaping up, because I probably wouldn't classify Mark Cullen as the underdog, and I probably wouldn't expect him to win this match, by the way, because of, he had a bit of a bad form coming into this tournament. Elias Lesser against Zhao. I also feel like he's going to be one of the underdogs out of the game, and Joey Lon against Chom. So it feels like all the lower ranking players, Joey Lon, of course, still very much the world number 12 when it comes to the 1-year list. But it feels like he's going to be the lowest ranked of all of these players when it comes to the 2-year list. Barry Hawkins is going to have a difficult job against Mark Williams. And then Elias Lesser, as I say, mentioned. I feel like Jack Lisowski against Mark Selby is going to be, not going to say an interesting matchup, but it's going to be quite interesting to see who wins. By the way, Robertson just waiting to clearly make sure he's not going to be distracting either one of the players on table 2 before his walk onto the arena. So it was a bit of a delay there. He wasn't walking out for the second time. And yeah, as I say, it looks like the frame hasn't even started there on table number 1. Or maybe they had a re-rack. So there's going to be John Higgins to break. And the third frame to get underway. For now, it's very much John Higgins in control of this match, especially when you look at the way that he was able to win those 2 frames. 2 mistakes. He won one sort of serious one in each of those frames, and all of a sudden the scoreline is there. That's a brilliant break-off shot, by the way, from John Higgins. And well, Robertson did have a bit of a slice of luck in one of the previous shots when he had that cue ball to be heading off the brown and behind the yellow. In the end, this one is going to be quite a difficult one for Robertson to try and get himself out of, because in the previous one for Higgins, he had the right part of the table very much free of any reds. And this is not going to be the case for Robertson, because you can't really see the right part of the table, of the right side cushion here. And also he's going to have a couple of loose reds that he can easily give away there. So this one is not going to be too pretty for him to try and get himself out of. And of course, something that is very important to point out when you're not playing well, and there's a reason as well that those tournaments are not always going to be the best in terms of having the closest matches at the top 16 players, although you may feel like, it's the best out of the best. The problem, though, is that when you're not going through those gears and very much off the pace, and for one of the players and the other one is playing the game of his life, it could be a very much a walk in the park there for him until the scoreline is going to be something like 4-0, 5-0, and then all of a sudden, despite you being the favourite, as Robertson would have been heading into this match, he could find himself having an absolute mountain to climb if he is to lose the third frame here. He already has a bit of a hill there because of the way that he's played in the previous frames, and also I feel like, he's managed to find the gap to try and get that cue ball to be sticking to those reds. Higgins, though, is going to be able to go for the red into the left corner. So Robertson clearly not judging that one too well. And he's going to allow John Higgins to go for another search there, for another frame. Could have done without getting that cue ball to be stuck towards the blue, stuck to the side cushion there, I should say, as he was playing for the blue. So that's probably going to force him to try and use one or maybe even two cushions. Get that cue ball away to the middle part of the table and bounce it away so that he's got the opportunity to try and take those reds into the right corner. For now, he was playing for the one into the middle, which, I mean, I have to say, it's not really an ideal shot selection because of the way that he's got the pink compromised. The black is only possible into the left corner. You can see once again the replay of the shot that Higgins has played. It's a really nice control of the cue ball, you have to say, especially for it to be super close to the yellow, making sure that the right part of the table wasn't available. And in the end, Robertson wasn't able to make the most out of the left part to him. So Higgins now just having a look to see. He's clearly playing for the ball colours and looks like he's going to be heading for the brown right now. So making sure that probably won't need any of those cushions, so purely on the backspin. Leave that cue ball to be heading right across the table. He needs to speed up though. He doesn't want to be compromised by those reds being in the way of each other. And this might be the case there. I feel like he's still going to have the higher red to be taken. Very much available to him, but ideally, he would have liked this red by the black to be eliminated. He's still going for it, but certainly not the angle that he would have been dreaming about. And he's able to just about use enough of the width of the pocket for that red to drop in. And once again, it is the same story as we have seen on the previous frames. Higgins very much dominating the play. You know, he probably are going to wait for another mistake from Robertson to occur if Higgins is going to allow him to get back to the table, because the thing about Higgins is, you know, he's not usually the strongest player when it comes to the starting those matches, but when he gets himself in a really good rhythm, pretty much impossible to stop him. And the only player that probably can stop him is going to have to be John Higgins himself, and the unforced errors that sometimes you do see creeping in, but once again, as I say, you don't really see those in the first or the second round matches. He played another really good shot there, Higgins, trying to get himself lined up for the red to be taken now. He's got a variety of those two into the left or right corner pocket of the table. So those two more reds, it's going to get him 16 points or so if those two are going to be taking with the black, because that goes without saying that you can always try and develop more reds here into the open play, and he may be able to try and do it right now. In fact, I'm not sure. I mean, I have to say, this black is not quite as straightforward as it could have been. I know he's got the perfect angle on the cue ball to try and disturb the reds. He needs to be able to get the black first, because we've seen Robertson miss a simpler black than this. Is he going to be able to take it? Yes, he will. Now, how's the contact on the reds? He's pretty good. He didn't really manage to get any more out in the open play, but at least he didn't compromise any. And he created a bit of a gap as well for that cue ball to potentially be sent and positioned for one more red to be taken into the left corner. So for now, it feels like he'll probably be trying to play this cue ball into the reds. And I'm trying to think there, because you probably have to try and do it off the black for the simple reason of, you know, you use the cue extension. That always is going to be having a bit of a negative impact in terms of how much of the power you can actually add to this shot. Therefore, feels like he's going to have a better chance of trying to stay on the break when playing for the black, and then just having that cue ball to go all the way into the bunch of reds. I mean, of course, it will help if he's got one available into the right middle, and that's exactly what he's thinking about there, because he had a bit of a look to see if it would have made more sense for him to try and take that red into the right corner. In the end, clearly didn't feel like it. Now he's going to be 36 points of an advantage there for Higgins. Looking at this black as well, see if he's going to have a chance to try and keep that cue ball to be heading into those reds. But I have to say, at this stage, I'm not even sure he needs to, because the red that he's managed to take into the middle frees up another red to be taken into either the same pocket of the right middle or into the left corner. And if you take the second red away, it frees up even more reds for yourself. And, you know, before you do the maths, you can realise 3 more reds to be added to the points tally of 43 It's going to be a very healthy lead there for him to be taken, although he mustn't lose control of the white, and he nearly did. Robertson, I'm not sure if he was looking at the picture of the table to see if he can run himself out of position. Still looks like, doesn't feel like he's going to panic just yet. Trying to take the black into the left corner. Just about misses the jaws of the pocket as well. Has the cue ball to get a big bounce though. And he's still going to be positioned on the left corner, although he's going to have a lot more distance than I'm sure he would have wanted. As he goes for the second 50-plus break of this match. And yeah, just trying to take this red into the left corner. And well, it is going to be all about trying to get position on the black as well. So, yeah, mustn't just take the rest of this break for granted, because even though he has got a 51 points of advantage, there is still 91 points at the table, and neither of these reds are going to be close to the cushion, being anywhere near the safe spot. So are the colours, 5 of them are available, and the pink's only problem is that it's covered up by the reds, which you feel like if Robertson is to come back to the table, no matter how much he's struggling, he's still going to be a very serious favourite for this frame to be taken his way if Higgins is to make a mistake before, leaving Robertson with him needing snookers. For now, he takes the red nicely into the left corner. He was actually going for the red, which was more difficult of a cut, trying to use the black ball cushion to slow the cue ball, and then in the end give it a big bounce for it to be lined up on the black as he takes the most expensive colour as well. Slightly underrun for the red though. May leave him with loads of topspin to be required to be added there for the cue ball, but also needs to make sure he judges the power well. Doesn't want the cue ball to be hit through those reds and just stuck to them. And he's managed to play this shot really well, to be fair, because not only did he manage to get the red, get the position on the black, he also developed the remaining 6 reds to be quite far away from each other. Certainly a couple of them, which is going to be the requirement there for John Higgins. So he only needs the black and the red combination, and he should be away into another frame win. And just as I said, when the scoreline was 1-0, I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to be the prediction of the century, but you could just see this one coming there from Robertson's point of view, because the misses that he had, it was just a matter of time until it was going to be one chance. And right now, just 1 point away there for it to be one chance and one frame taken there by John Higgins, and that's exactly going to be the case here. A really good break there of 68 points and counting. And now you can see total points there for Higgins, 223, and only 44 of those for Neil Robertson in the opening 3 frames. Because Higgins still needs to take the blue away for it to be the highest break of the match, but also just to ensure that Robertson is not going to have a competitive chance when he comes back to the table. Trying to get the cue ball into the reds, which probably has to be tactical. And clearly didn't feel like there was enough space for the cue ball to try and slow down before hitting the reds, so may as well add more power instead of playing with very little of that. In the end, gets the blue in, he's still on the red. Now forces the white to go all the way for the bold colours, but at this stage, he's not really aiming for the highest break, or about 140 points or something. Still probably is going to be the highest break of the tournament because of only, you know, us and Weeze and Mark Cullen playing. And so far as I'm aware, we haven't seen any of those century breaks on table number 2. I haven't seen any here so far in the opening 2 frames, because even though it has been John Higgins' story to be written, he had a break of 70 points as his maximum. Now as he makes a break of 77 points there. So 12 reds, 1 yellow, 1 brown, 2 times that he's taken the blue, and the remaining times of the 7, he was taking the black with him. So just take it for the 8th time, and well, could have done without getting that cue ball to bounce into the red with such huge force there, carrying that red away from the right middle. And in the end, he's going to have to try and take this one with a rest shot into the left corner. So still feels like somehow, you know, despite it being such a dominant performance there from Higgins, it's still probably not going to be up to his highest level, although it's certainly going to be high enough for him to be taking this one away from Robertson, although it's not going to be a century break, but still, a break of 84 points, which, I mean, he's going to be super close to just eliminating all sort of hopes there for Neil Robertson, because despite him being the world #1 seed in this tournament, he's going to have the world of troubles next to his name, because right now it is John Higgins 3, Neil Robertson 0, and the Australian is still yet to deliver any sort of response there after those two costly mistakes. Well, three costly mistakes really, one on the blue, one on the pink, one on the black, all of them being missed. Two in the middle, one in the right corner, and the third frame didn't even need a mistake from Robertson. He just needed a wonderful break there of 84 points from John Higgins' point of view. And all of a sudden, it is the Wizard, which is certainly going to be able to get himself lined up for a frame win. And now all about trying to make the most of the remaining part of this match. And, you know, Higgins is already halfway there. It's going to be all about just trying to make his way to the remainder of this match. Which, I mean, if you win one more frame before the second mini-session starts, I mean, you have to say at that stage, especially being against John Higgins, the match is going to be done and dusted there for him. With Mark Cullen, by the way, battling away against Weezer. McCullum was always going to be the favourite there for the odds, but I did actually have a feeling that Weezer may be able to take control of that match, and in the end, somehow, you know, certainly not being shy on the pace, with 3 frames by John Higgins being finished in less than an hour. Mark Allen and Weezer finished their respective 3 frames, and now they're starting the 4th one, with Allen very much dominating the play. By the way, had an exactly the same story there in the match of Weezer against Mark Allen, because it was Mark Allen that scored 78 points against nil from Weezer. So once again, 1 break and a 1 frame win. So it makes it now more than 100 points without an answer from Mark Cullen's point of view, and he's now trying to get himself lined up for a 3-1 of a cushion, which I have to say is something that, despite, you know, 4-0 is going to be better for Higgins, but I still feel like, especially against the world #1 seed in the player series, he's going to be very happy if he's going to be taking a 3-1 gap in towards the second mini session now. For now, referees getting the Reds ready. Robertson is at the arena. I feel like Higgins probably is not right now. There he is as he comes back towards the table. So just waiting for the announcement by the referee. And this time, of course, it is going to be Neil Robertson to try and get us underway. Whether he's going to be able to do something with his break remains to be seen. But for now, just try and send this cue ball towards the main bunch of Reds. And then we never quite know what's going to happen there with him. And yeah, it's a nice contact that he got, to be fair, on the cue ball. And now just trying to get himself lined up for the red to be taken into the right corner. I mean, as much as it was a decent contact, to be fair, on the Reds. And, well, Robertson clearly doesn't have anything good to say about the previous shot, because he has cannoned one of those Reds to be quite close to the right corner pocket. You know, he's got the black compromise, which may be a bit of a saviour for him. But would expect this red to be taken there by Higgins, which he wasn't. So that's straight away going to give Robertson a chance to come back to the table. See if he's going to be able to utilise this one, because, you know, whatever you say about him, 23 points as your highest break coming into the 4th frame is nowhere near good enough. Especially when you're talking about the best 16 players on the World Tour competing against each other. He's got pretty straight red available to him, and with the black not being available into the right corner to be taken, this is quite a nasty shot. And I mean, I'm not surprised there, because you could say it's a rookie mistake, but it was a nasty shot there that Robertson had to play. Didn't pot the red, potted the cue ball at the same time. And yeah, it's going to be a ball in hands, and it's going to be a disaster there for Neil Robertson. And it's going to be a birthday gift away to John Higgins, because he's going to have one of those reds at the top part of the table. And in the end, if this red is going to be taken into the yellow pocket, he's going to have a brilliant chance there to keep that cue ball for the bulk colours for the time being, and then just try and transition all the way to the blue before he's able to make contact to the black. And Lunar New Year, yes, certainly. So congratulations for the Lunar New Year, and Happy New Year for you. So it's going to be all about trying to separate the red away from the black here. And is he going to try and do it now there, Higgins? Has he managed to do so? I feel like he has, to an extent, because he has managed to get the pink to be away there from the captivity of all of these reds. He's not really lined up perfectly on either one of those reds right now. Although he has managed to get a really good contact on the bunch of 13 of those. So yeah, just having a look to see if he's going to have a red to be taken into the right corner. Once again, he's going to have that cue ball to be heading from the side cushion all the way to the top part of the table. Again, good for Higgins. Yeah, I mean, like, the thing about it is, like, Higgins was always going to be a real underdog coming into this tournament for the simple reason of he wasn't meant to be competing in this one if it wasn't for O'Sullivan's withdrawal. But you have to say, it might actually be better for neutral snooker fans because as much as Ronnie's still trying to find his form, he's going to be all about John Higgins. You know, certainly not lacking a lot of form now. And he has got a lot of points there on the board. When it comes to the previous frames, it does seem like he's a bit baffled by what he's going to have to try and do now. In terms of he's got a couple of colour selections available to him, and of course he needs to make sure he's going to be able to focus on the positional shot on the reds. Got a couple of those quite close to the right corner. Ooh, we didn't really get a firm contact on the cue ball, and yeah, despite him still being on the reds very nicely, it feels like he's done himself no favour there at all. He didn't manage to get the black away from the red, and also he compromised the pink even further, closer to the main bunch of the red. So once again, just confirming the fact of him having the need to try and make the points advantage there through the blue and through the ball colours. So at this stage, it is going to be all about Higgins trying to make the contact with the cue ball. Now, if he is going to be just trying to send the white towards the left part of the table, then he should have a decent chance, to be fair, in terms of him trying to take this red and then still having loads of cue action on the white to try and bring it up the table. Though, as you know, as professionals often say, straightforward shot that looks straightforward like this is still going to be very difficult for him to try and judge the contact, because he's going to hit the second red no matter what happens. And he needs that cue ball to slow down. He needs it to slow down now. And he just about has slowed down enough there for him to be lined up perfectly on the brown. It's very close to the brown, but he's got the angle. He certainly has got a lot of freedom to be concentrating on taking the brown on. And at the same time, he should have a good chance of taking the brown with the effect of taking the red right next to it as well. So still, the fact that he needs sort of 70 points at this stage, probably 60 there with how many of the cheap colours he was taking already previously, and you know, no real sign that he's going to have to change for him anytime soon, especially as he tries to cue this one there with the white, trying to set it down the table, get himself lined up for this red to be taken now into the left corner. So break of 17 points there, but it feels like it has been going on for a long time there from Higgins. So just needing to make sure it's going to be all about trying to stay on the blue, which once again, it's not going to have an easy job of doing that now. It needs a lot of action on the cue ball, trying to do it without using the cushion, which helps in some sort and in some way, but also for the fact that it didn't really have a lot of the angle there to try and force that cue ball to be heading to the top part of the table and be on the top side of the blue. In the end, he is going to be on the blue, but pretty much alongside of it. So he's considering to be taking the brown. No point taking the yellow, because it's just going to give you a shot in a straight line again. The green is going to be way too difficult for you to be taken. So it's a question of whether you take the blue, just try and roll that cue ball through the shot, or you take the brown into the yellow pocket, and you have got the cue ball to bounce away to the lower part of the table. The easiest shot is the blue, but that leaves you with quite a nasty shot on the red, because once again, the issue of the black and the pink is not going to get itself solved. So whatever you do on the next red, once again, you need that angle on the cue ball to be heading to the top part of the table. And probably, I have to say at this stage, as much as the blue is so much as an easier of a shot to be taken, you have to be taking the brown, because if you take the blue, I feel like you're just going to be committing to taking 6 points and then just hoping for it to go your way. Unless he wants to try and force enough of the angle on the cue ball. And it feels like it's something that he has done. But he's taking the blue, and he's trying to put a bit of distance in between the cue ball and the red, even more so that he's got an angle which maybe will give him a chance to be heading for the blue. But I have to say, I mean, he's made this shot way too difficult to be focusing on the positional play, and also he hasn't really sorted the issue out as well, because the shot that he's attempting now with loads of topspin, he still has got a loads of reds to try and make his way through, and yeah, he wasn't able to do so at this stage. So now a long shot of the blue to be taken into the yellow pocket, and a break of 24 points, which still seems like it's taking him ages. But at this position, I mean, make no mistake about it, it's still going to be very important for him to be having those 24 points on the board. Now just trying to go really deep onto the white, so still once again not leaving himself out of hope in terms of being on the next couple of reds. And he's played this shot absolutely brilliantly, by the way. You cue the blue to be taken right into the heart of the pocket and still manages to judge the contact of the pace of the white to absolute perfection there from the position that he had found himself in. I mean, that was probably about as well as he could have done there. Once again, 33 point advantage. And I mean, despite it being quite a low point advantage, he only has got 107 points at the table with this. So, you know, he's had 5 of those reds eliminated. He's probably about to take the 6th one away. One more is going to be waiting on the right side cushion, and quite difficult for you to try and make his way through. He got a bit of a lucky touch on the red, although how lucky will probably be determined by John Higgins himself, because he's still not going to be lined up perfectly on the blue to be taking it into the left middle, but he may have a better chance to actually be taking this one into the yellow pocket right now. And once again, I mean, it is going to be now more than 120 points without answer from John Higgins' point of view. And it has been a while since we've seen Robertson with a real chance there of having any sort of chance of scoring some good points there. The last one, of course, was that ping being missed, and probably was his last attacking shot that he's played. Once again, the blue is going to be taken nicely into the yellow pocket. And yeah, he's able to get himself on one more red, which, you know, previously has been the lowest of them all. That's about to be changed, but ultimately he has got the perfect angle this time to try and get that cue ball to be lined up for the blue. And this is going to be a really good break there. If he manages to somehow win the frame from it, it's going to be an absolutely, well, a real contender for the break of the tournament already, for the position that he started. And, you know, players always say that it's quite difficult for you to be trying to develop the position from nothing, but that is only going to be relevant to the reds, because it's pretty much impossible for you to be keeping yourself on the break every single time when you've got pretty much 2 colours not available, and the 2 main colours not available to yourself throughout the majority of this break there. Feels like, you know, he didn't judge the pace of the cue ball too well, though, because it certainly has the angle to try and force the cue ball naturally to the top part of the table. And in the end, he's probably landed in between there of taking the brown and being nicely on the blue there. He can take the yellow. It's a most straightforward shot there that you can possibly hope for. Table time 73% there for Higgins, 27 for Robertson. But, I mean, yellow doesn't really get you close to the reds, though. The brown might, if you do it off the bulk and off the right side, head it across the table, and for one of the reds closer to the black, not the one that's covering the black, because it's going to be impossible for you to play a positional shot on that red. And he is going to use the bulk on the right side, and he's actually going to use the left side as well. So this one, I mean, he could have done with the cue ball being slightly closer to the red, but once again, it's a brilliant shot there that he's played because of how difficult it must have been, especially from a rest shot, to try and generate so much power on the cue ball. But it's going to be even more difficult for him to try and take this red, power his way into the right corner, stay on the blue, and continue the break from here. And, well, I feel like he was trying to avoid that contact. I don't really feel like he was trying to get that cue ball to be heading into the black, because that was always going to separate the cue ball and the blue very far away from each other. So it feels like now the blue is going to be the shot for the frame, because the black is now potable, although it's still quite in a problem position. And is he going to be taking this one on? Of course he will. And, well, I mean, the blue was the shot for the frame, but whatever you do, make sure you get loads of the backspin out there. And it clearly wasn't enough for Higgins to try and well, keep the white in the blue spot, which clearly would have been the ideal scenario. Right now, he's going to have the blue in between the cue ball and the red that he would have been playing for. So that's going to put an end to this fantastic break there that he had. And yeah, a bit of a unforced error there from Higgins. And you can see he was really disappointed there. I couldn't really understand that because I thought that was a sign that he missed the blue. But in a split second, he just realised that he obviously didn't get enough of the spin there on the cue ball. And he's going to compromise him in terms of trying to win the frame in the current visit to the table. But he only has got 83 points there, Robertson, to try and make his way through. Of course, Higgins is going to be forced to try and take one of those reds away and into the open play. Not sure if he manages to get the perfect contact on the cue ball though, because he had a red which obviously would have been the most dangerous one, the one that he was playing for previously, close to the right corner available to Robertson. And with the reaction from Robertson there, just trying to study the left part of the table instead, probably suggesting that that's certainly not going to be the case here. I feel like the red that Higgins has played, and that has gone super close to the black ball cushion, is probably going to be his best chance, although his best chance is still going to be contact of the cue ball on the red, then towards the black ball cushion, off the left side. Whatever you do, make sure you don't kiss that red by the side cushion at all, because it feels like at this stage, with the way that Robertson has been playing, any contact on that red is going to put it right over the middle pocket. That's not something that he's going to need, being 3-0 down. And 50 points down as well in the fourth frame. So Higgins once again just having a look to see if he's going to have a chance to be taking the red, which Robertson has played for previously, into the right middle. And he was clearly happy to just try and keep that cue ball on the lower part of the table. And in the end, have that red to be taken to the top part of the table. I'm not sure if he was trying to get it beyond the blue ball line. But at this stage, I feel like Higgins probably has got no need to be risking those type of shots. So he's probably going to try and take the most dangerous red away from the right corner pocket, play it into the cushion, and then just get that cue ball to be heading to the top part of the table. He's chosen another approach, and he might not have played this one to the best effect there for him, because he probably tried to double that red into the mix of the reds. Of course, now a real attempt to make a pot there for himself, leaving that cue ball to the black ball cushion, or at least close to it. Could have done with it being slightly deeper down the table. In the end, could have given a red away to be taken into the left corner. In the end, that wasn't quite the case. And even if it was, Robertson clearly didn't fancy that one too much. Let's see if he's played a good enough shot there of his own, because it does look like one of the reds on the left part of the table is going to be potable there for Higgins. Although another problem there for him is that if you try and take it with a potting angle, it is going to be very difficult for you to be taking that cue ball across the table and trying to get yourself set up for the top part of it there. So Higgins once again just having a look to see if he's got the chance of taking this red now into the left part of the table. And it feels like he probably can. I mean, it's a more difficult cut, but ultimately it just leaves that cue ball to avoid any unnecessary contact on those reds. And a bit pacey there. Of course, compromised by the way that he caught that one way too thin on the edge. And yeah, got nowhere near potting that red. And at the same time, right now it is going to be the red next to the blue given away to Robertson. But also he's got the remaining two reds of the plan that Higgins was trying to disturb away to himself. And last pot time, 29.5 minutes. That's going to be extended there because Robertson got not even close to trying to get that red. And, well, I mean, it will be an absolute miracle if Robertson finds himself heading towards the intermission with it being a 3-1 of a deficit. I mean, he's still not going to be in his favour, but you feel like it is going to be a frame that is going to cost him 2 or more frame wins because of the way that this one has been set up and with a lack of form that Neil has been showing so far prior to this moment in time here. Higgins once again just obviously feeling that, trying to go for a cut himself, getting closer, but just about has got enough control of the cue ball for it to be sent across the table and lined up for the yellow or quite close to the yellow pocket, really. Now then, Robertson, he's going to have a look to see if he's got the chance to be taking this red away and into the left corner pocket. Probably should be doing that right now, because once again, he should have the angle to try and avoid any sort of unnecessary contact on the remaining reds. And that's certainly going to be the start there for Robertson, although he may not have anything to do after this start. It's a really nice red there that he gets into the left corner, and he's just about going to be lined up for the yellow. Although it's a straight line shot, which, with the cue ball being super close to the side cushion, it's not going to be his best friend there, but he gets the yellow in. He's going to be on the red, so now the chance is on there. You know, he still has got quite a few difficult reds to try and make his way through, but at least he's going to be in there with a shout. 75 points at the table, so he's not going to be having a lack of those to himself, and it is going to be all about the 47 points of a deficit now that he's got to John Higgins. I mean, ideally, he wants to try and play the cue ball for the black straight away, which he has done, but catching the red wasn't part of the script, and I mean, he's still going to be lined up for the black, but it feels like at this stage it is going to be a lot more difficult of a shot for him to be taking on, rather than what it could have been. And yeah, Robertson just feels like he needs to try and do something about this one. Well, maybe get himself lined up for the next red into the left corner will certainly help, but also for the simple factor of, you know, trying to slow the cue ball down there. But I mean, from this angle that he's got here, you have to say it is questionable whether it's going to be worth taking that shot on at all. And I wouldn't be surprised. He just wants to get that cue ball away from the main action, and he's tried to play it, and he's played it super well, to be fair. It's a brilliant shot there for Robertson, and he was able to use the second red away as well, to use it as a handbrake, basically. Get that cue ball to be lined up on the red anyway. So he's still in there with a shout. Of course, he manages to fix the positional problem on the black. Now he gets one of the more difficult reds away as well. So now it is going to be down to the two reds that are going to be quite close to each other on the side cushion on the left-hand side of the table. And also the red quite close to the pink. Should need some attention and care as well. And now it takes the black for him to be 31 points down. And still 59 at the table. So if that red goes past the pink into the right corner, it shouldn't be too much of an issue there for Robertson to try and make his way through. But if it doesn't, then you feel like it is going to be a bit more of a quest there for him to try and win this frame in the current visit to the table. Especially, I'm slightly surprised there that he was taking the easy reds first and not really having a clear-cut chance for himself to disturb any one of those three reds. I mean, probably that he's going to suggest that the one closest to the pink is going to be possible into the right corner. But it doesn't really fix the issue of the other two, because, I mean, yes, you can probably say that the one closer to the left corner can be potted through the side cushion, but, I mean, do you really going to trust yourself on that shot if you're Neil Robertson at this stage? And I'm even more surprised that he wasn't even playing for that shot next to the pink. I mean, I thought he was going to add loads of backspin onto it, but it looks like he's played for a double, and he's clearly going to reach the point of this match. But it's all or nothing, and despite him getting the red, it is going to be nothing because, yeah, he's going to be nowhere near to be seen on his black to be taking it into the right corner or the right middle. In the end, just a snooker to be lined up, but, you know, he's managed to do a bit of the work done. One of those reds he's going to be sent away from the side cushion. The other two still need a bit of work to be done next to them. But right now, it is 22 points of a deficit there for Robertson. And 22 advantage therefore for Higgins. It's a snooker there that Robertson manages to find Higgins trying to face himself with, and therefore just trying to catch the red close to the side cushion. He wasn't able to do it from the first time, so now it is going to be 4 points given away to Robertson. That changes the deficit to be 18 points there for him. And yeah, he's got the confirmation of both of the players. Of course, Robertson is not going to interfere too much. I'll leave it all the way to Higgins because John has got the ability to try and get this red very much with a double bounce, but ooh, this feels like it's a bit pacey. And, well, he certainly looks a bit pacey now. That is a bad mistake there from Higgins, and he's going to be triple or quadruple as bad if it is going to be leaving that red available into the right corner, because the red that he's played for can be an easy shot into the right middle. And with Robertson playing for the pink into the right corner, this could be a horrible blunder there from Higgins, because, I mean, I know it was a snooker that he found himself with, but you should not have played that shot with so much power and leaving that chance away for Neil Robertson to go for a total clearance here, which, I mean, I said when he was 50 points down, it would have been a real chance for Higgins to be heading towards the intermission, with it being a 4-0 advantage. Well, it is going to be a real chance now for Robertson to try and do something about this one. Get himself into a 3-1 deficit still. But it feels like it is going to be a massive advantage when we come to the second mini session to get started. 39 points is going to be the score sheet of Neil Robertson there. Could have done with getting that cube slightly closer to the ball cushion and for the blue to be lined up. In the end, he's going to have to try and take the pink into the right corner, and therefore needs a big bounce on the cue ball as well. So play it through the black ball cushion off the left side and on towards the ball colours there. Looks like he has managed to do so pretty well, to be fair. And now just trying to play this one off the yellow to be taken into the left corner. Then he can now try and do something with the remaining 6 colours. So yeah, he's going to be all about trying to take the green now. Of course, he has got more than enough points of an advantage there, Robertson, in terms of the way that he's got this one lined up. He's going to be on 51 points, so finds himself ahead in the frame for the first time ever since one of the opening frame encounters, and now gets the brown in as well. So that's going to give him a 5-point advantage, and all he needs now is going to be the blue and the pink to be taken into the right middle, and just trying to get himself lined up on the pink. And it is going to be a master of a steal there from Robertson, because he had everything against him, but in the end, it clearly wasn't enough for Higgins to be having that 4-0 of an advantage, and the break of 34 points in, maybe even 41 there, with a total clearance is going to be enough for it to be a 3-1 advantage there for John Higgins, but it's still probably is going to be feeling a bit of a frame loss there for him. It is now Neil Robertson 1, John Higgins 3, as we go into the intermission, and on table number 2, feel like it is going to be pretty much the same score, with Mark Cullen leading Boise by 3 frames to 1, as we now go for the intermission of 15 minutes time, and we'll see you for more action in between these two players. Stay tuned in.
Empty hearts and neon lights, they're playing with my mind. Gotta get out of here tonight. Oh, I wanna run off and fly, and I'll tell myself it's fine to be alone, just to find somewhere that finally feels like home. Oh, oh, oh. I hate all this overthinking. Oh, 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 oh. The more I swim, the more I'm sinking. Take me to a world of silver. No more heartbreaks, tears, painkillers. Take me somewhere unfamiliar. Bring me back to where we started out. Get me out of now, to where we started out. Get me out of now, to where we started out. La 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 la, oh, oh. Get me out of broken hearts and starting fights, turning truth to lies. Gotta get up, stop wasting time. I wanna run off and fly. And I tell myself it's fine to be alone, just to find somewhere that finally feels like home. I hate all this overthinking. The more I swim, the more I'm sinking. Take me to a world of silver, no more heartbreaks.
Right, and we're back for the second mini session, and now it is going to be all about whether Neil Robertson is able to try and produce that comeback into something a little bit more than just being, instead of him being 4-0 down, he's now 3-1 down to John Higgins, who didn't really utilise the opportunity of having that 50 points advantage and 83 points remaining at the table in the previous frame. Now let's see if he's going to be able to do it to a better extent now, as it is still best of 11 first to 6 frames there. And at this stage, you would say Higgins does need these frames slightly more than Robertson, because he still doesn't want, well, for his own sake, he needs to make sure he doesn't allow Robertson to be within just 1 frame distance there in between the two players. As now it is going to be a break-off shot from Higgins. Let's see if he's able to bring that cue ball close to the yellow one more time. And I feel like he hasn't really managed to do so on this stage. And yeah, he's going to have a corridor there to be taking the red into the right corner instead. So he's going to be disappointed there, Higgins. And Robertson surely will try and take this shred away. Although I have to say, I mean, is there going to be a way for him to try and get that cue ball lined up for the black? Probably wasn't at the end. That's why he decided to just take a safety shot there of his own. And now Higgins is going to be the player, trying to get super deep into the white. Try and force a couple of those reds towards each other. And across the table there into the left middle, just about misses the jaws. Place it into the side cushion nicely and onto the top part of the table, whilst keeping the cue ball into the safe place there for his own. And Robertson is going to have to try and do something about it here, because he can't really get low on the cue ball. And he can't really guide the white to the top part of the table either. So he needs to try and make sure he gets a good contact on the red. And the good contact didn't really mean that he was going to send the reds across the table there. And I mean, he'll feel like he's unlucky, but I have to say, that was a bit reckless there from his point of view. And yeah, he sent one of those reds to the top part of the table, clearly with intention for it to bounce away from the bulk and the Blackwell cushion twice. And in the end, he got into the left middle jaw, bounced into the main pack, and one of those reds has gone right across it and very close with a cue ball, exactly where Higgins would have liked it to be. In the end, you can't really blame that one. You know, he took a risk, and sometimes the risk can go against you. Now then, Higgins, is he going to be back to frame 4, or is he going to be back to frame number 3? Oh, he was super clinical with that break of 84 points. Didn't leave Robertson a chance, and at some stage he sort of had 200 points without answer as well in that point of the match. Now gets himself a really good chance of taking this red in towards the green pocket, and he's very much going to be eager to try and get himself lined up for the brown to be taken. Feels like it probably is not going to be the best case scenario to try and send the cue ball as soon as possible into those reds. Just try and take a couple of loose reds first, and then he's still going to have the ability to try and play for the black and the blue. Something that, to his fairness, he didn't really have in the previous frame, and clearly that was the only reason why he wasn't able to convert that opportunity of scoring 50 points into something bigger, and in the end just winning the entire frame and making it a whitewash in the first mini session. In the end, he was close enough, and he's still the man very much in the lead, and he would like that lead extended now to a 4-1, just ensure that Robertson still stands pretty much no chance of trying to catch Higgins unless there's a massive drop-off. There's a incredible couple of steals there that Robertson produces, which, as I say, especially with that red being sent to the top part of the table quite recklessly, is probably something that you shouldn't expect of Robertson just now, but he may always appear in the end point of this match. For now, it is Higgins' story to be written, and he gets himself lined up for the black for the first time, manages to get that cue ball to bounce away from the black ball cushion as well. Feel like he won't need to use too much of the spin, just roll the cue ball through this red across the table onto the left part of the black. Didn't really need to use the top spin, which he hasn't this time around. Slightly different approach because of, that cube of having to be played into the black ball cushion. Want it to be the top side of the red, and it is going to be. So now 27 points of an advantage here for Higgins. And he should have the ability to try and play for the black straight after this one. Get himself lined up for either black or blue is going to be fine. But I feel like he's got 2 more reds. Well, this one and then one more that he has to be taken into the left corner. And say pretty much at that stage, that's where he's going to have to try and make contact with the main bunch. So having a bit of a look towards one of those reds at the top part of the table. So if you're going to be looking towards these black to be taken into the right corner, he needs to make sure he pushes the cue ball across and gets himself lined up for this red to be taken. Managed to do so, and he's probably done it intentionally there, once again not for the first time in this match. But he's going to have the chance to try and spread the reds away from each other there with his cue ball. And ultimately, I feel like he's going to be all about whether he can try and control the white just about good enough for him to be lined up on the next colour here. And yeah, I feel like he's done a really solid job there of trying to be on the black. I mean, he's certainly managed to spread the reds out away from each other. So it's all going to be down to a pure factor of if he gets the black into the right corner, that's going to be good enough for him to certainly get lined up on at least one of those reds. Didn't even try and slow the cue ball down enough at all. He's going to be able to try and take this red away into the left corner as he now scores once again a break of 43 points. It's the points tally that we haven't actually seen Neil Robertson score up to this point, and the total clearance of 41 for him to be ending their first mini session. Can't say on a high because he's still, at that point, he was losing 3-1 down, but at least being in there with a chance, especially if he was able to win this frame. Probably to be close to being the favourite once again in the entire match here. But John Higgins came out with, not going to say a perfect opener there because he was a mistake from Robertson. But so far, he's managed to make the most out of it, getting the black into the left corner as well. For it to be made another break of 50 plus points. Now getting himself to be in there with the chance of taking this red into the right corner, and I feel like he's probably going to have a chance of trying to play the cue ball for the blue. If he gets really low underneath the white, of course that's going to compromise the potting angle slightly, but it should be good enough for him to try and get hold of the cue ball now. Just try and play into it here. That's what he's tried. And I feel like he's managed to do it pretty well, to be fair. Now lined up for the blue here to be taken into the right middle. And then it is going to be all down to the factor of just if he's got a couple of reds available there into the right corner, which I feel like he has. I mean, he's certainly got 2 of those. And at that point, it should be enough for him to be taking this frame away there. Now then, 57 points is going to be the advantage. So if you take those 2 reds away, it's going to be bringing the points remaining at the table to 67. And with those 2 reds taken with colours, which are going to be more expensive than the brown, so blue, pink or black, certainly will require Neil Robertson to try and find a couple of snookers there by the time that he comes back to the table. Of course, if that is to be the case, and those 2 reds with 2 colours are going to be the last 4 shots that Higgins is able to pot, which of course still not going to be any guarantee of that to be the case. Now 65 points ahead, 75 remaining, so the red and the black will leave Neil Robertson needing 2 snookers there for him to try and find. So once again, it has been a really good break there from John Higgins. It just doesn't seem like, that previous frame, misjudgment has affected him at all. And he was able to come back from it ever stronger. And now I'm just looking to see if he's got the chance of trying to play for the red. I mean, he's got the blunt looking somewhat close to the left corner pocket. I'm not sure how close he actually is going to be. But it's looking right across the table. And he should have a chance to try and take those 2 reds into the left corner. Now he's looking at the plan. Of course, the frame is 1 now. He's 6 points safe in terms of the 2 snookers needed there for Robertson. So as much as Neil will probably still come back if this blunt is going to be missed, which he won't. So it is now confirmed 4-1. Robertson will have to spend the remainder of the 5th frame sat in his chair And, it looked like it was going to be a bit of a 50-50 battle, especially with that shot that Higgins has played right at the start of the safety battle. Probably going to find himself in a bit of a problem position. You can see life pot success has increased for Robertson, though. It was 77%. Now it's at 86. But Higgins still being Mr. Consistent there with 95% of the pots that he attempts do seem to find the target there. He's just about able to squeeze the red past the pink and get it into the right middle. Now gets himself lined up for the red to be taken into the left corner as well. So he's now going to extend the highest break scored in the entire match there, over to 88 points. And now, as you can see, he's got 377 points scored in total, and that's still can be developed if he's able to make a century break or get close to it here. And that's going to be more than triple the amount that Neil Robertson has next to his name in the end. And probably half of that coming from the previous frame anyway. As Higgins played a shot really smart there, trying to use the entire pocket just to make sure that he gives the cue ball enough of an angle to separate the penultimate red away from the pink. The one that referee spent so much time trying to place perfectly. In the end, he won't have to do that one more time in this frame. And it is now just 2 shots remaining for us to witness the first century of the entire tournament. And John Higgins very much to be the man that created this century break. 14 reds, so very much from the start of this frame, he was able to get himself, after that unforced error from Robertson came, off into with a charge. And now the blue for the century break. It is now a break of 102 points. And John Higgins certainly is not going to be bothered about the fact that he's here as a wild card. He's here to play, and he's certainly going to be here to win. He was doing super well at the last part of the season in 2025. Beating Joe Connor and Mark Selby in the World Open and the World Grand Prix finals. Right now, it is going to be all down to the last couple of shots that he needs to play for it to be a very successful total clearance there. As now he takes the yellow, about to take the green as well, to make it 111 points there on the break. So now only the brown really that he needs to be taking on. And then he should be in for a simple charge of the last 3 colours there remaining. The pink is going to be slightly away from his spot, but it shouldn't matter for a 133 of a clearance. So 133 points that he's going to score. And that's going to be more than Neil Robertson has managed to score in the entirety of this match. And the total points of 404 certainly not going to be, staying there for a lot of the time, because he has been a brilliant performance there from John Higgins. And once again, as he gets down to hit the black, it is going to be a fantastic break of 133 points. And it is John Higgins that fires himself ahead with a 3-frame cushion yet again. And despite it being the round 1, it's still very impressive, the form that John Higgins has been showing so far. Robertson needs to find the answers. And, at this stage, even if he does find the answers, probably is going to be a little bit too late there. Very rarely you see the 3-frame deficit to be overcome there, especially against someone like John Higgins. And clearly not going to be the case now, as Robertson will still try and fight back. Similar story with Weezer there, as he now finds himself 4-1 down. And right now finds himself with a chance to try and finally get himself back onto the winning ways. Of course, he won the opening frame after a bit of a scrappy battle. In the end, lost 4 frames on the bounce. And a very similar story in the match of John Higgins and Neil Robertson, because despite that one-off frame on frame number 4 there, that Robertson managed to somehow steal away from Higgins. This could have easily been a 5-0 of an advantage, and Robertson could have been cruising to sort of way home really, because there's not going to have a lot of action going on ever since, one of the players is going to be knocked out of the Players' Championship, because you have to wait till next week for the Welsh Open to begin. And then it is still going to be slightly, I'm not going to say a lottery, but there's going to be a lot more difficult for the top seeded players to win those tournaments, because I feel like those ones have been probably the most surprising wins of the season there. Mark Allen at the English Open, probably not so much, but because of the way that he was able to win that tournament, coming back from being a couple of frames down against Elias Lester, against Jack Jones, against Stuart Bingham, against Ding Zhuhui, and then do it in a decider against Watchalong as well was incredible. And then you talk about the crowds and the pockets and the brilliant battle of the two great friends there of Jack Lisowski and Judd Trump in the final, for it to go all the way to a decider. Once again, was absolutely brilliant to be watching. The third one certainly delivered in terms of the drama and the action, not so much in the final though, because it was one-way traffic with Chris Wakelin defeating Cheng Minyu very much confidently at that stage. Let's see if it is going to be the Welsh Open. That is going to prove to be another title for Mark Selby, just like it was last season. Or is it going to be someone different this year? Because remember, English Open last season was Neil Robertson's story. Then it was Scottish Open once again, Karen Wilson. Same as the Northern Ireland Open. In the end, we had all the different winners so far at the Home Nation Series. Both to relation of last season, and also neither of them have managed to repeat themselves. For now, as we can see, still waiting for Higgins to come back to the table. As we go to table number 2. And it is going to be Weezer trying to get himself a break of, 50 points to start with, because he's yet to achieve that in this match so far. And trying to get that gap down to 4-2, not in his favour. So you can see, sorry, I said we're waiting for John Higgins. Of course, we're waiting for Neil Robertson to come back to the arena. And then the action will be restarted there. So all eyes are going to be on table number 2, but only for the time being. As I can pretty much see from the reaction of the fans who are about to welcome Neil Robertson back onto the arena. And meanwhile, Weezer is still going to be able to try and do some decent job there with the break. That he gets the red to be taken into the left corner, trying to stay on the black now. Slightly too close to the side cushion there for his liking at this stage. And he's able to control the position well enough though. So, I mean, I thought the reaction of the fans was suggesting that Robertson was making his way back onto the table, but as you can see, that clearly hasn't worked out to be the case. And it is still going to be all action. The Weezer that has played for the blue, trying to separate the reds away from each other. And only time will tell if he's going to be able to stay on the break there. He certainly managed to get a bit of the contact into those reds, but I feel like he's going to be slight of a problem there for him to be playing this red into the left corner. That's going to be the only chance for him to try and continue the break. Meanwhile, still no sign of Robertson to be coming back there. So you can see the former winners and the top seeded players there, marked in green, very much in the top 8, the likes of Chris Wakelin, Judd Trump, and Zhao Xington, Barry Hawkins, and Zhang Anda there, which I have to say the last two have been a bit of a surprise. And it is going to be now Robertson coming back to the arena and ready to break off as well. He needs a good break off and he needs a good start to the 6th frame, because so far, as I've said pretty much throughout the entire match, it has been Higgins' match to lose, but also, Robertson just not delivering to the expectations of being the number 1 seeded player in the tournament. But this is a lot better from the break-off shot that he has. Now just trying to get that cue ball to be alongside the yellow. I wouldn't say that he's managed to get the white perfectly in behind of it, but at least covering the option of Higgins going for that red to be taken into the left corner. And may have to try and find the edge of that red, but also has to be careful that he doesn't get the cue ball too close to the left corner. So then, let's see if the way that he's trying to play this shot, he's hit it with a swerve. So just trying to leave the cue ball very much close to the black ball cushion, which, I mean, he's not really going to risk anything there, Higgins. So it's a smart shot, to be fair, because he was never going to put Robertson into a lot of trouble. And in the end, he allows himself to be out of one. Just try and take this cue ball there to the top part of the table, pretty much in a straight line. And ideally for Robertson, wants to try and finish it either super close to the ball cushion or in behind the brown. In the end, it feels like he's done pretty much neither of those two. The cue ball was bouncing off there to be away from the ball cushion. And it's not quite going to be in behind the brown either. So as you try and take the reds to be separated away from each other once again there from Higgins. He's got the cue ball to travel down the table and make a bit of contact to those reds. Now pushes one of them to be on the side cushion, and it's a good shot there, so the recovery is complete there. And the opening break-off shot by Robertson, that's looked like he was going to set the pace to the safety battle. Certainly hasn't worked out this way. And if anything, it's Higgins now trying to set the pace to the couple of safeties coming up there from Robertson, because he needs to be careful. He avoids the contact on the red, closer to the right side cushion, which he's managed to do, to be fair. And he's now all about the factor of the two reds closer to the right corner pocket. If Higgins is able to pot one closer to the pocket, he certainly will go for it. And the fact that he's not even thinking about that shot, clearly suggesting that it is not going to be potable. Into the right corner at this stage. And then as he gets the cue ball to the top part of the table, he's going to be covered up by the green nicely. So it's a nice shot once again. Really well played by Higgins. And, the cue ball is not going to be bouncing away from the sort of, what's it called? The ball cushion too much there. But it is going to limit the ability and the options that Neil Robertson has got to his name, because he'll force him to try and take that red away into the left corner. So, of course, the thing about Robertson here is that he can try and turn it into a blunt and to get himself in with a chance of starting a break, but also if he pushes those reds too close to the pocket, it could be an easy starter for Higgins. And in the end, last second decision there, Robertson changing his mind, and he's played a really good shot there, to be fair. Helped on by the kiss on the green, but Higgins still acknowledging the shot that he's played. Certainly managed to get all these reds to be safe. And the plan that I said Robertson could have taken on previously, I feel like it's probably not going to be available to Higgins here, because of the way that you're going to have to try and send this cue ball towards the lower part of the table. I mean, it's not really going to work out for him either here, because the cue ball is not going to be heading anywhere near the safe zone and the corridor in between there. A couple of reds there. So he needs to try and do something about it here. Maybe a cross double on the red onto the right part of the table. That's gone horribly wrong there for Higgins, and he's going to be very fortunate if he doesn't leave anything away. And it doesn't look like he hasn't, because of the reaction that you can see in his face. He either left the red over to the right middle or the one into the right corner. The previous camera angle probably wasn't telling the whole story there, but the one into the right corner could have been taken easily. And Robertson is up and running again. Once again, let's see what he's going to be able to do with his break, but so far he needed at least 2 invitations there for him to be taking that 4 frame away. And of course, on all the other occasions, it was unsuccessful on taking the frame overall. Clearly feels like he needs to go for it now, and it hasn't worked out for him at all. A bit of a reckless shot, though, I have to say. There was no need for it to be doing a shot like that straight away before getting through a couple of easy reds. And not going to call that a frustration, but I feel like there certainly has been a sign of that. And all the disappointment that we've seen from Higgins, where he clearly felt like it was going to be a great chance for Robertson to be taking the frame away. It looks like it is going to be a break of 6 points. And that's game over for Robertson. Yeah, you can see he clearly could have played this shot on at least 2 more loose reds. I mean, he's got 2 at the lower part of the table, 1 more at the top. And then that's 3 reds out of the way. 1 more that you've taken. All of a sudden, you only have 11 to try and sort of work with when it comes to the splitting the pack. And you're always going to have a greater chance on being on one of those reds, because you've got less reds to be in the way of each other, but also, a lot better on what you're playing for. And you can judge and justify the way and, the approximate places that the reds are going to go far away from each other, and also the contact that the cue ball is going to have on those reds. For now, though, it's a safety to be played from Robertson. And back to John Higgins it goes. I mean, the previous shot from Robertson was probably quite a bad one, to be fair, because he left him with the black being compromised. And also, as I said, he didn't really have a chance to try and extend the break to any points. Now, let's see what he's trying to do here, Higgins, because it looked like it was a bit of a double, maybe even a treble attempt. He was clearly playing that one with the cue ball kept in mind. So he played that one pretty well. But has he played it well enough for Robertson not to have a chance to be taking this trade slightly above the blue ball spot into the left corner, or instead the one that can be taking onto the right side cushion? I feel like the one on the side cushion is more difficult because of the way that, I know, well, I mean, probably both of them are going to be equally as difficult for the cue ball to be lined up perfectly. And, well, that is unfortunate, to be fair, because that is really unfortunate from Robertson, because he's played a really nice long shot there into the right corner, and that cue ball's always heading to another red. And you can see the reaction from Robertson facing you, that the cue ball was heading straight into the pocket after that contact. It's unfortunate, but in the end, it is going to be the cue ball and a ball in hand to John Higgins. And you can see that's going to mean the world there to John, because the red that has actually got that cue ball to drop in has gone into the top part of the table. And you know what that means. He's going to have a great chance of taking this one into the middle. And he's just going to be concentrating on the fact that he still has got a very difficult job of trying to navigate his way through the colours. You know, he had a couple of those reds to be eliminated already, about to make it 3 now, as John takes it. But, I mean, the pink is potable into the left middle, but once again, you have to say, the paint spot, if it is free, which it looks like it is from this angle, that's going to be just a one shot that he can take, and then the pink is going to be useless for the remainder of the break, unless, you know, he's going to make a serious contact with the bunch of the reds there. So for now, it's the cue ball that he's going to be heading towards the right middle. So Robertson is going to be very much disappointed with that shot that he's played. And, yeah, of course, trying to do something from here is going to be dependent on the mistake from John Higgins, which at this position, and in the way not even the reds but the colours are spread out, may still come, but I wouldn't really say that you can absolutely put your life on it, because of, you know, John Higgins just having that ability to try and make a bad position and turn it into a really good one. And of course, when he comes to a really good position, he can take it into a clinical opportunity there for his own. And just under on slightly for the pink. That's going to create a bit of drama that he didn't need, because the angle that the cue ball has on this pink now will force the white to be heading to the top part of the table, which is not going to have any reds in it, unless he tries to hold the white for one of those reds, which is what he's tried. And, I mean, that's not really going to get him a perfect outcome either. So the pink is going to go on the black spot, which is going to be a boost. But the way that he's got himself lined up for this red is still going to be quite a difficult shot into the left middle to be taken. Now 11 points is going to be the advantage here. And, yeah, a bit of a backspin. Once again, he's needed there for Higgins. But more importantly, I mean, he needs to get this red in. He's managed to do so. Now, how's the cue ball control? It's really good. So, to be fair, it was far from an ideal shot, and certainly wasn't easy there for Higgins to try and play it like that. But he was able to execute it really, really well. And now just trying to take the pink into the left corner, get that cue ball to bounce away, and get himself lined up for the red to be taken into the left corner. So now just lined up for a shot of this red to be taken once again next to the pink, which will free up the pink to be heading into the right corner as well, which boosts the chances of a break building to very much reach the end point there for Higgins. The current chance there, and as I say, especially for it to come after such an unfortunate event of things there for Robertson, he will be, well, he would have been disappointed anyway coming into this frame, because he felt like, you know, he had a couple of first frame misjudgment there with the fade of the table there that he clearly felt. In the end, 25 points advantage now in the frame number 6. Surely it's just going to be a formality for Higgins to be winning this one, especially if he goes 5-1 up there. I mean, 4-2 is bad enough for Robertson to try and bring himself back into the level playing field of this game. But 5-1, you're going to need to see Robertson to win 5 frames of the bounce there. By the way, let's have a look whilst Higgins is just thinking about whether he needs an extension or not. He's able to take 6 frame away there from Mark Cullen, so that match is still going to be heading towards at least 8 frames there for the spectators to be seeing. So 4-2 is a bit more of a chance there for, but I still feel like, once again, the consistency of Allen sometimes can be the real problem, especially for someone like Wu that doesn't prefer to be playing the style that matches the game plan of Mark Cullen there. And sometimes you're able to just, especially when you've got a couple of frames on the board over your opponent, you're able to just shut down someone that's attacking, as we'll use it. And we'll see if Alan is going to be able to do that. And for now, well, Higgins, well, that's clearly gone wrong there for him, because that's a really weird mistake, to be fair, because, you know, I have to say, with the way that the cue ball was heading towards the Reds, and the fact that he's not going to be on one, and he's lost the cue ball pretty much right at the start of that shot, it's a bit of a weird shot there that he's played. In the end, he is going to have a 31 points advantage, and 99 at the table, so, you know, if Robertson was able to recover from being 50 points down, and having 83 remaining, certainly should have a chance to try and do the same thing here. So Higgins, of course, not playing for a double there. He was just trying to get that red to be on the top part of the table, but in the end I feel like it's going to be the exact red that Robertson uses to try and get it down the table. Because, of course, the way that, you know, Higgins got the cue ball to be pretty much alongside the black ball cushion, just about as close as he can get to it. It's going to force Robertson to try and do something else with the cue ball. Therefore, it is going to be quite a difficult shot for him to be taken from here. Well, you can't really roll to the bunch, so as I say, the previous camera angle was a bit misleading there. And, well, this shot wasn't played to the perfect extent there from Robertson, but I do need a better angle to see if there is a way to do exactly what Higgins is thinking about right now. That red closest to the right corner pocket now is possible, and if there's a corridor there, which I have to say I feel like there is, Higgins can try and go for this one without, you know, sacrificing a lot on the risk point of view. Now he's taking this red nicely. Now he needs the cue ball to slow down. It's a really nice shot there, especially if he's going to be on the brown. He's got one more loose red to try and work his way through, and this is going to be the second rotation there, which most of the time is all that John Higgins needs. There's a wonderful red there that he played really nicely into the right corner pocket. And in the end, he's now able to choose from either brown or yellow to be taken into the yellow pocket. And now just bounce the cue ball away off the side cushion, getting back down the table, and have the red available to be taken into the right part of the table instead. And he's decided to try and not play for the loose red here. He's trying to take it into the main bunch, and it feels like he got massively lucky there. I'm not sure if that is going to be down to luck, but I can't really say he's going to be down to anything else because of the way that Higgins has got a chance here to be taking this red away. And he's got a really good opportunity to be taking this red into the left corner, and also he's got a straightforward angle to try and play for the blue or the bold colours. You know, it was a very fortunate kiss off the pack there that sent the cue ball onto the side cushion and still somehow managed to clear the path of a couple of reds, sending the pink and the red out of the way. And yeah, that cleared the path, and certainly is going to be the reason why John Higgins still has got an opportunity of going for this break here. 35 points advantage, so 75 at the table. And he's going to be looking at the remaining reds here. He's got 5 of them bunched up next to the black, very close to the pink spot. And then he's got one more red to be closer to the black ball cushion, next to the pink itself. So now he's going to be using the brown. So let's see if he's going to be take 2 there for him. And he's just going to try and give a little brush there over to those reds. And yeah, it feels like he was trying to hold the cue ball instead and play the shot of the one of the highest of the reds to be taken into the left middle. Seems like it's working out pretty well for him. But he still needs a good shot here on this red for him to be taking this one away. That's going to get him on the blue. And then one more time, you know, he's going to have this chance of trying to separate the reds away from each other. So he's trying to take it for the black instead, which, I mean, I have to say, it's a bit of a weird short selection to me, because yes, he's going to be able to take the black away from those 4 reds, but where is he going to be able to find the next shot there that he plays? By the way, shout out to the previous shot, though, from that brown to try and hold that cue ball so well, and that's exactly what I was talking about. I couldn't really understand the way that he was trying to be on the black, and just trying to send the cue ball into those 4 reds. I mean, he's smiling about it now, because he knows he probably has to play a safety shot from here. But I have to say, didn't really see any other outcome to be the case. So 47 points now. He's going to be the advantage 67. He's going to be remaining at the table here. So very similar story for now to the one that we've seen in the frame before. At that point, it was 50 points advantage for Higgins and 75 at the table. So let's see if John is going to try and put one of those reds onto the side cushion. He's got one of those to be on the black cushion right now. That should give him the chance to just try and separate the reds away from each other. Get that cue ball to be heading to the top part of the table straight away. Now, if he's going to be lined up for this red to be taken on there for Robertson, he could have played this shot nicer, to be fair, Higgins, because, I mean, that red is going to be possible. The problem for Robertson is going to be the angle that the cue ball is going to have to get down the table from. And, I mean, I have to say, it is going to be a difficult shot on all sorts of fronts there for Robertson, because it's a difficult shot as it is, but also the cue ball is going to be heading straight into the pack of the black or the pink there, which are going to be the two prime colours for him to try and get the position on. You know, if he gets a firm contact on them, he's not going to be on the blue, so he probably needs to play a save shot from here. But 4-1 down, 47 points down. I feel like the last thing that he wants to play right now is going to be a safety shot. And as I said, there's always going to be a contact. And this time around, it feels like the contact is actually going to do him a lot of a favour. On the black, he got the red in. He got that cue ball to be bouncing away onto the black. But somehow, because it wasn't a firm contact, he just brushed away the black onto the side cushion. He's able to get himself lined up for this blue. Although, I mean, once again, it's a pack of 3 reds now. But does he have a way for one of those reds to be taken into the left corner? Because I feel like the answer to the right corner probably has to be no. Although one of the lowest one might actually go to it. Ooh, the little jump there on the cue ball. So clearly just trying to get it closer to the red on the black ball cushion. And it's a decent effort there, to be fair, from Robertson. But it feels like it's going to be just about not enough there. And though, as I say, 4-1 down, I wouldn't be shocked if he tries to take this red on, because it's probably going to be the only thing that stops him from winning this frame. And he's going to be the complete repeat of the 4th frame. But I have to say, from this angle, at a professional snooker event, he has got a safety written all over this one. That's what he's played. Needs that cue ball to bounce in behind the pink. That was clearly the plan, and it wasn't executed perfectly well. Of course, remember, those things are going to be compromising Robertson slightly, because now he's still safe in terms of the points. He's got 41 of those to try and catch up to John Higgins, and he's got 59 at the table here ahead of him. So if he has got those reds to be separated away from each other, he can try and put a couple of those there on the side cushion there, Higgins. Maybe even on the black ball cushion at this stage. And at that point, it is going to be a very difficult job for Robertson to try and, once again, make it just a 1 break. But he gets a break of 50 or so points on the remaining 4 reds. Makes a total clearance, which at this stage is not going to be easy either, with the way that the pink and the black have gone away from their spots and away from each other as well. And once again, it's a decent approach there, and it's a good idea from Robertson to try and guide that cue ball in behind the pink, but lacking a bit of power. Didn't really work out too well, and now it is going to be John looking to see if this red is going to be possible into the left middle. Yeah, so he's going to have to try and think about this one pretty hard and well, because he can try and take it into the left middle, but once again, the big bounce on the cue ball is going to be inevitable because of the angle that, you know, the white is going to have positioned in relation to this red. And it's going to be quite difficult for him to try and guide the cue ball into the safe spot. He still went for it, and yeah, he just about missed that red. It wasn't by much, but he still missed it by a bit of a margin. And yeah, he was able to bring that cue ball to a safe place, which probably was the most important thing anyway. And now it's back to Robertson here, trying to get those reds away from each other. And well, just thinking about Robertson's point of view has to be all-out attack here, and it's just a matter of time until he goes for one of those long shots. He may try and do it now, Although that's a bit of a weird line that he's taken, that cue ball to. Off the left side, didn't really... I mean, I have to say it's a marginal thing, but he got probably just about close enough to the black ball cushion for it not to be called a mistake. Yeah, he sent one of those reds to the top part of the table, which will make the next safety slightly more difficult there from Higgins' point of view. And I still feel like he has potentially left one of those reds to be taken to the right middle. That's going to be the most important factor for him to keep an eye on, because especially, John Higgins missed the previous one. I feel like he's going to be a bit of a Christmas for Robertson if he misses 2 in a row. And that's not going to be Christmas time. We're in February, not in December. And that is John Higgins certainly getting himself into the 3rd chance, which I have to say at this stage will surely be the last one that he needs. He's got 42 points now of an advantage, and well, he's got 51 at the table, so he just needs to try and get his head around which next colour he's going to have to try and take. He's got the green, he's got the yellow, and also he has got a couple of other options there in terms of the reds to play for, so it doesn't have to be all-out attack on the yellow. But I have to say, I would actually be taking the yellow from this point of view, because I know it's close to the ball cushion, but it's also quite close to its own pocket there, and this cut on the green will send the cue ball into a bit of an unknown. And, well, it was a bit of an unknown. Higgins just about manages to hold it there away from the side cushion and sets himself up for a frame ball to be taken. Now, 45 points ahead there from John Higgins. Let's see if he's going to be able to take this shred away into the right corner. So a bit of backspin as well, because he would like to have the next colour eliminated as well, for Robertson not to be coming back to the table all in all. And, well, the red is in. The colour is going to be a bit more of a trouble. But now 46-point advantage. I mean, the most important thing for Higgins is that he's, barring snookers, he's now only 1 frame away from going to the quarter-final stage. And we all know what happened in the Masters. Once again, one of those, not quite player series events, but the top 16 players event, where you managed to go all the way and challenge the likes of Trump in the semis. Certainly had a really good campaign against someone like Zhao Xington. And in the end, still didn't manage to defeat Karen Wilson in the final. He certainly would like to add this one to his collection as well. So just deciding to go for the yellow. That will leave Robertson with needing 2 snookers at this stage, which still would expect him to come back to the table from here. Unless Higgins is able to get this red with a long shot along the side cushion, which he clearly had no intention to try and play for. So maybe a bit of a backspin there on the cue ball. He didn't really try to go for the red anyway, which makes sense because he'll frustrate Robertson even more. The fact that he's not going to have an easy chance presented to him when he comes back to the table. And yeah, Higgins is just edging out on trying to quadruple the points scored by him in relation to Neil Robertson after the opening 6 frames. And that might be a double there that he's created there, Robertson, which is going to be even worse bit of news there for him. That's exactly what Higgins had a look at very quickly, because there is a bit of distance in between the 2 reds, but with the way the cue ball's going to be heading to the top part of the table, I feel like it is going to be a great chance for him to try and get the 2 reds and the cue ball to be separated away from each other anyway, which he has managed to do to an extent. I mean, could have done without, the cue ball being stuck in between the blue and the pink. Robertson there seems to be stuck in between where the scoreboard is. And yeah, so 48 points now separates the 2 players once again. So 2 snookers needed, or a snooker and a free ball will do Robertson's job very nicely for him. And that's a really nice red that he's taken. Although, remember, he needs an expensive colour with it. He's not going to be on the pink. And is he going to be on the black? I mean, he's just about on the black. Certainly not the shot that he would have liked to have played. And also he probably brings the opportunity on having a snooker on the last red with the first shot that he plays out of the game as well. That red is going to be very close to the green, which clearly would have been in the back of the mind of Robertson when he was taking that previous red on into the yellow pocket. So whatever he does, he needs to make sure the black is in. And, well, he felt the need to try and take it into the green pocket, which probably suggests how bad things were. And it is going to be Robertson conceding the frame, so I'm not sure if Higgins heard that because he was still walking to the table. Now it is going to be walking to the bathroom break there. It is John Higgins that takes it away there, and Neil Robertson is now trailing by 5 frames to 1. He's got 5 frames of a task in a row to try and win, and on the other table, have a look how it is going to be looking for Weezer. Seems to be the man at the charge of the position, but the man in the charge of the scoreline is going to be Mark Allen. 5-2 is going to be the advantage in favour of the man from Northern Ireland. And after making 3 50-plus breaks there, in response to Weezer just making one of those previously. Once again, it's a very similar story if you compare the match of Weezer against Mark Allen to the one of Neil Robertson to John Higgins, because, Robertson, of course, didn't make any of those 50-plus breaks. The highest one that he had was the break of 41 points at the end of the only frame that he managed to win. And John Higgins had 3 50-plus breaks. One of them turned out to be a wonderful century of 133 points, and we also had the likes of 70 and 80 points to go with it as well. So now it is going to be all down to the factor of, Higgins trying to get himself over the line as soon as he can, and then Robertson trying to stay in this match for as long as possible. Although I do feel like it is a bit of like that in the cartoons, but realistically, Robertson is going to come out to this table and with a clear attitude to me. I'm going to try and win this frame with a century break or something like that. Otherwise, if I go out, I go out on my own terms. He's going to try and go for it now, Robertson, and I feel like that's going to play into the hands of Higgins even better than he has already done so. Hopefully, it does not come back and bite John in the bum like it last time. He was 5-1 up. Which one was that? 5-1 up for John Higgins, and he didn't win that match. I mean, that doesn't feel right with me because of... let's have a look at the previous head-to-head, because I feel like you are talking about one of the Robertson matches there at the Masters last season. And yes, that is very much the case there. So, of course, it was last season at the Masters, and it was at the same stage there, last 16. Robertson managed to take the first frame away. Higgins went on to win 5 frames on the bounce, and then Robertson responded with winning 5 frames on the bounce himself. I do feel like Robertson is probably going to be one of the most overrated players this year. Unpopular opinion, 100%. Especially for him to be top of that 1 year list, but I'm going to dig myself even bigger hole. Ever since Saudi, I know he had a couple of semi-finals, we haven't seen the form of Robertson anywhere near to the extent that we have seen right at the start of the season, and the fact that he's only scored 100,000 worth of ranking points ever since Saudi Masters probably proves my point. He had a couple of decent campaigns, he had a Champion of Champions semi-final appearance, yes. The UK Championship, yes, and he was I actually thought the UK Championship Robertson was prime Robertson this season. Apart from Saudi Masters, he was playing super well, and the only reason why he wasn't in the final for me was because he was against Watchalong, who was playing super well. Champion of Champions, different story. He was playing horrible in that semi-final against Selby, and yeah, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't really have a lot to say about any other parts of his season. Especially if it comes to the positives. Positive, though, he's taken a really nice trade. The negative, though, he's managed to place that cue ball perfectly on the bulk line, right next to the yellow. And that's going to be very awkward to try and cut this one into the green pocket, whilst trying to control last year in the Masters. Yeah, I've just checked him. So that was the last 16. So it would have been the first round of the Masters. And, yeah, Robertson managed to take the first frame win. Higgins won 5 on the bounce, and then Robertson won 5 on the bounce himself, coming back from being 5-1 down to win 6 frames to 5. He has beaten him at the Champion of Champions as well this season, so, he has got the experience, he has got the know-how. We'll see if he's going to have the tools here, though, because, as I said, he's going to go for it. He's going to take this blue, and he's going to miss it, unless he flukes it into the yellow pocket, which he won't. It is going to be a chance presented straight away to John Higgins, and by the way, I mean, I'm not going to lie about it. I haven't seen that match in the Masters, but it genuinely doesn't make sense because 5-1, when you're losing to someone like John Higgins, this is exactly what I expected Robertson to do. Try and go for every opportunity, and inevitably, one of them he'll miss. Now it's a chance for Higgins, but for Higgins to win 5 frames with the bounce and then to lose 5 frames with the bounce, it feels like something completely out of the ordinary. And yeah, well, let's see if it is going to happen again here. At this stage, it feels like something that will never happen, but if it happened at the Masters, it can always happen again. Same stage, same players, probably same sort of things at stake. Now, the first real chance for Higgins is not taken at all, and that's a bad miss there from him. And yeah, this red is going to stay over the pocket. Yes, Robertson hasn't got direct access to it, but he can always try and use the plants because the red is literally over the pocket. So disappointing there. I don't know why Higgins is the player that has got 1 point next to his name. Apologies for that. It is Robertson that managed to take the opening red. And once again, it is Neil that will try and get this red with the plant. And he's played this one really well because it wasn't about trying to get the red in, which he was always going to do. It was about trying to hold the cue ball on for the black. And he was able to do that one in a real good fashion. So now, a chance that you're probably not going to get one more time there from Robertson. I mean, like, you're not going to get a better chance than this. Especially if you look at the way that the match has gone so far. You know, 6.5 frames. And now it is going to be down to Neil Robertson trying to do something about this one. Trying to take this red into the right corner. Now gets himself lined up for the black as well to be taken into the left corner here. And yeah, if he takes the cue ball with a bit of topspin, he should have the ability to try and play it without touching the side cushion at all. And still give himself a bit of breathing space to be lined up for those reds. I mean, he's lined up for the reds into both right middle and right corner. I feel like he doesn't really need that test of the right corner, which is why he's taking the one into the right middle, which technically is the more difficult shot, but because of the angle, not cue ball, not quite being there, it means that he is going to need to make the contact with the remaining reds there with the cue ball, which always leaves a bit of danger for you to run yourself out of position on the black, which has been done by Robertson on numerous occasions so far this match. I'm not going to say numerous occasions because he didn't really have too many of those positional play misjudgments. And he was down to the pot success mainly for me, not utilising his chances, and then the pot success probably has to be third on that list. But now he's taken the first couple of reds here, all with the black. Of course, he's on 26 points because of taking one of those loose reds before the start of this break. Now, he only has got 107 points at the table. Still a couple more of the loose reds for him to try and make his way through. Now, this black to be taken. Ooh, that's a bad miscue there. And that is a horror show from Robertson. Very rarely you see that one to go this wrong. And you can see, ooh, it's a big jump there on the cue ball. And yeah, that was, we either had a very much front row seat for that, watching in the background. Of course, he would have liked to be playing on the main table there against Mark Connor, but I mean, that's going to certainly put a cat amongst the pigeons there for Robertson, because he was down to whether he's going to be able to separate those reds away from each other and surely go over that break of 41 points. In the end, Higgins will take that as another advantage to himself, and a brilliant long pot there that he had, taking that red into the yellow pocket. Now having a good chance to take the black into the left corner as well here. So play the cue ball through this black, get himself lined up for the shot to be taken. And he's going to be just lining up on another red to be taken into the right corner here. So 18 points is going to be the difference. And of course that changes everything there about the perspective for this frame. And once again, it puts Higgins very much at the top part of his game here in terms of his chances. But this shot is going to be super important. But of course, it wasn't because I thought he was going to miss the red. And he would have had himself in quite a difficult position for the black either. And ooh, that was a weird shot there and a weird miss from Higgins. You know, as I say, that Masters thing is probably going to be at the back of his head there. Of course, it's still very early to tell. And Robertson has got absolutely no guarantee that he's going to be able to win this frame, let alone 4 more after this one. And for now, he's just trying to sort out the tip of his cue there after the massive jump and the travel of the cue ball previously. And ooh, Yeah, it's going to be still a great chance for him to try and get this red into the middle, which I have to say, after a bad miss like that, a bad miscue like that, I should say, it was always important for him to get that red in, but I don't actually feel like he's managed to get anywhere near the position on either one of the bold colours for him to be heading straight for those reds there. I mean, he's trying to see if he can try and just drop the cue ball for the red to be taken into the left corner, but that's going to be a real difficult shot there that he's clearly committed to try and playing there, because ideally he would have liked to send that cue ball away from the side cushion and for these reds. Let's see if he still has got the ability to do that. Nope. And the cue ball is going to be heading towards the pocket. It bounces away towards the bunch though, so I mean that's one way to get on the red, to be fair, because he may still have the chance to be taking this red somehow. As I say, he was nowhere near trying to make contact with the bunch, but in the end, as the cue ball wobbled in his jaws, it's sort of gone sideways across the right part of the table. And now, I mean, if he doesn't have a chance to take this red into the left middle, then he certainly has got one to be taking this red in towards the yellow pocket. So now 22 points is going to be the advantage, as Robertson asks the referee to clean the white. So it's an important shot there. Of course, he is going to be limited to the risk of just leaving this red away to John Higgins. But sometimes, you know, one red could be enough there for him. And let's see if he's got this one in. It does seem like he's going straight into the pocket there, and he does. So 23 points now is the advantage. 83 at the table. And it's a real nice shot there from Robertson that he's played. Now trying to get himself lined up for this black to be taken. And now it is going to be all the action on the cue ball, but all the action on the cue ball and not enough action on the black there. He somehow misses the black off the spot, and once again, it is going to be the colour story of the entire match there. Robertson only had one more shot to play, get the black in, get himself on the red, and you've got this frame over and done with. And the good news for him, though, he probably hasn't done any one of those two parts of the task that he needed to. I mean, that is a horrible miss there, and it was a wobble. It was a horrible twitch as well on the right elbow, which clearly has done a bit of damage there to this shot. Didn't even get close to getting that black in the end, but as I say, didn't get himself lined up for these reds either, so Higgins has to play a safety shot here. And, well, it's a good line for the cue ball to be heading in behind the black, and he's played this one super well there, Higgins, because he's going to be 7 reds for Robertson to try and hit, but neither of them is going to be anywhere near the side or the black ball cushion here. Neither are the colours though, so they're not going to get in the way of Robertson, but I feel like it's not going to be too much of a problem there if Higgins or Robertson tries to get themselves in a chance of trying to clear up this position. As you can see, it's a really smart shot from Higgins because he manages to separate 4 reds away from each other straight away, and then he puts the cue ball in behind the black with a really good safety at the same shot there within a couple of seconds from each other. So now it is going to be all down to the cue ball to be sent right across the table, and well, maybe off the left side cushion. That's going to be a bit of an advantage there from Robertson because he always leaves him with a chance of hitting that red thin on the edge there. But if he doesn't hit it, he's not going to be anywhere near it, and he's probably going to give a free ball away as well, which won't help. And to be fair, the cannon that he got on the black allows him to ensure that the free ball is not going to be given away. So it's 7 points away to Higgins. And the turn, of course, will be handed back over to Neil Robertson here. There's no point John trying to take this one away. There would have been if the free ball was on the cards. In the end, with that not being the case, it is going to be the referee trying to re-establish the black and the cue ball. So a bit of a delay, and once again a nice little chance to see if the match of Mark Allen and Weezer is over. And it's not now. Weezer is still trying to battle away there, although it's Allen that is in with a chance there of making another steal. Gives the turn back to Weezer though, so have to wait and see if there was a massive miss there from Mark, but Weezer just about still hanging in there. And of course, he's got the mission of trying to win 4 frames. And he's probably going to be having that mission reduced to just 3 frames there. He gets one of those reds, and at that point, surely it is going to be frame over from his point of view. And by the way, in the meantime, the cue ball is going to be respotted there for Robertson. It feels like it was slightly further away from the black, but you can't really argue with the technology here. Robertson needs a lot of adjustments to be trying to hit that red, and whoa, that was super close. But in the end, he clearly wasn't close enough. And yeah, Higgins will clearly try and ask Robertson to be taking this one again. This one probably was just about as close as it's going to get for you. You can see, ooh, that was barely a millimeter away from the red. And Robertson, you can see with his reaction, can't believe how close that cue ball actually was to touching the red. And that would have been a perfect shot in the making there from the Australian. In the end, he needs to try and replicate that. And when you get so close, I have to say, the feeling next shot is that you're always going to hit it too thick on the edge. And the feeling was false, because he doesn't hit it at all. It is going to be, once again, attempt number 4 there, coming up for Neil Robertson. So the referee just trying to re-establish the cue ball one more time. And having a look there to see if the white is going to be respotted in behind the black. So off the left side, and once again bounce away from the black ball cushion, try and hit the red from the 4th time, and that was always the risk. When you get so close to it on one of the previous shots, you were always going to hit it too thick on the edge. And right now, it is going to be a chance here for John Higgins to be taking this frame, and therefore taking the match away from Neil Robertson's point of view. So Higgins is going to walk around the table. I feel like he's got the introduction there of the red to be taken into the right corner. It's not going to be the same, which Robertson has hit so thick, very much close to being full ball there. He's still going to have the ability to try and play the cue ball off the black ball cushion to be lined up for the pink. Let's see if that's going to be the case here, though. He's taken this one well, and he's gone for a backspin shot instead, and that's a real gem there that he found. Brilliant execution there from Higgins as well. He's about to find himself only 1 point behind there, and although he's not happy with the way that he's got the positional play on this being sorted, it's still going to be better than anything that he would have hoped for, especially after that previous attempt from Robertson getting so close to try and get himself away from that snooker chance. And now it is going to be the pink to be taken here into the middle. Bit of a hesitation on 2 of those occasions, though, from Higgins. Clearly, it doesn't feel like he wants to try and take the pink here straight away without realising where the cue ball is going to have to go. And, well, if he thought long and hard enough about it, clearly didn't think enough about it, though, because the cue ball was lost and it's bounced away from the black ball cushion. It's got quite far away from it to be sort of aiming for the shot into the left middle, but I mean, it's a difficult shot as it is for him to be having to play this shot in the way to try and get himself on the pink. It's going to be boundary on impossible there. And yeah, by the way, while he's thinking about it, let's see if it has been taken into frame number 9, and it has certainly done so. So Weezer is still very much in the charge, and not in the charge, but in contention for taking that frame, and therefore the match away from Mark Cullen there. And once again, John Higgins finds a beautiful pot there into the left corner, and somehow he was thinking about trying to send that cue ball across the table from the left side. In the end, he bounces it away onto the black ball cushion, and now brings it back level in terms of the points. And I have to say, the previous couple of shots, he was making it quite difficult there for himself, certainly a lot more difficult than it should have been. Now trying to take this pink into the left middle, bit of backspin, once again trying to hold the cue ball for one of the reds to be taken into the left corner, and from that point onwards it should be a straightforward path for him into the quarterfinals, because those 4 reds, I mean, if it's not going to be enough, he's going to have the 5th one very much available to be taken into the right middle as well. But I feel like the main damage is going to be done from these 4 reds, because they're all located quite close to each other and ultimately very close to the pink, which makes it easy for you to be playing the transitional and positional play shots from the colour on towards the red. Manages to force another red away there from the cue ball to free up the pink even more. And ultimately, I feel like from this angle, he may even have a chance to, well, he needs to get the pink in first because he is bridging over another red there. Using, well, the entire pocket there, Higgins, but just about drops it in. That was not quite comfortable there, especially on a split second, and Higgins is smiling about it. No wonder he is being 5-1 up, but that would have been a bit of a problem there, because that's something that you want to avoid as well, no matter which stage of the match you're in. You know, if you're 9-0, you still probably not classify that as a mistake, which you can't afford to be making in a professional tour. And apart from that, he's still going to be lined up nicely on the red to be taken into the left corner now. So a bit of a backspin shot here on the cue ball. And then you get yourself lined up for a shot of the pink. Once again, using the side cushion. Although, well, I mean, I said he was lined up for the red. He clearly thought he was lined up on the red. I mean, unless there was a miscue or something like that. Feels like, you know, the second red was going through without touching the first one there with the cue ball, but that wasn't the case. He touched the red that he wasn't trying to pot first, and that's going to put Neil Robertson very much back to the table, though only for a split second, and he's going to miss the red into the left middle, and well, a bit of a meltdown there at this stage, you have to say, from Robertson, because it has been a horrible performance from his camp, and you know, John Higgins has not been perfect. He's been good, really good on some of those frames, but he has not been at the form where he should be beating someone like the world number 1 seeded at this 1 year list with a scoreline of 6-1, and he's still going to be the favourite for that to be the case as he takes the red now. Now the cue ball is going to bounce away from the side, put the red onto the side cushion there, which he's still going to need at this stage. That's not going to be the perfect news for him. So now 14 points advantage that he has. So let's have a look just how many of those he's going to be able to get. I mean, technically, if he takes the black on to the yellow pocket and he's able to get the remaining 2 reds with the black, he should have a chance of, you know, just getting himself a 36 or a 37 points of a gap by the time that Robertson comes back to the table and try and battle it out with the last red. But the first shot on the black was far from easy, and despite Higgins playing this shot of 3 cushions, he's still going to have pretty much 2/3, if not more than that, of the table in between the cue ball and the red. Diagonal shot into the left corner. It's positioned quite nicely, to be fair, to try and drop the cue ball in behind the black. And if he's able to hold this one in, and the cue ball should be lined up nicely for the black, although he wants it to be on the top part of the black, and he's played the shot really well in terms of getting the red in. Now, how's his positional play on the black? It looks like it is going to be either straight or it's going to be on the top side of it. And yeah, he just about has enough of the angle to try and drop the cue ball in behind this red. So then just 2 shots away as he takes this black into the right corner. So the red for him to be 30 points clear, and then the black for that gap to be extended over to 37 points. And it's going to be a real nice chance there for him to be taking this match away from Neil Robertson. Of course, pretty much 3 hours since the match has started, and now it's probably about to be finished there because the red is in. So it's a frame ball here, and therefore it's going to be the match ball as well for John Higgins that has dominated this match from start to finish. We were talking about that Masters comeback, whether it's going to happen again. Well, he's 1 shot away from making sure that it won't happen again. And it was a one-off situation there. So the black is in, and it is going to be John Higgins that marches towards the quarterfinal stage, where he'll play either Chris Wakelin or Sao Godon. Of course, Robertson will come back to the table here, because he's only going to be 1 snooker in it, but I feel like he's probably going to be the one that believes the least of the portion there, of the percentage, especially with Higgins getting a snooker on him. And it's actually quite a nice one. Because if you're going to try and bounce the cue ball away off the left side, it is going to force that red to be heading towards the green pocket. And it's going to be quite a nasty one for him to try and play towards the right part of the table whilst trying to hold the cue ball, which is clearly going to be his mindset, in behind the yellow and the brown. I mean, it's possible to execute that from Robertson, but it's certainly not going to be the easiest shot in the world that he plays. And also, it's the one that you can't really control everything. He needs to make sure he hits the right part of the red first, and he's managed to do so pretty well. That was a risk risky, really risky shot there for him. And, I mean, like, Robertson doesn't really seem like he's enjoyed this shot, although it may just be the situation that he finds himself in this match overall. And Higgins is going to have the cue ball to bounce away off the bulk here to try and hit this raid towards the middle. This is close. This is really close. This might be a handshake, and it is going to be a handshake in between the two players. And it is John Higgins that wins it. The right man won, but probably in a bit of a bad circumstances with the last raid. In the end, John Higgins certainly deserves this win. He has dominated this match, and Neil Robertson will have to come back stronger for the World Open and the Welsh Open as well. But for now, it is John Higgins that once again finds himself in the quarterfinal stage, and we'll have to see you for more of the action there, whilst Mark Allen and Weezer still try and battle it out for who's going to be on the quarterfinal stage on their table number 2. For now, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you around for more of the action here at the Players' Championship in Telford. Speak to you soon. Stay tuned in.